dirty. I'll go ahead and drop it down a little more. What's up, Quiet Vibes? You'll be my first guy to check it and see if, make sure you can hear me and everything. I'll probably scoot it a little closer. What's up, Leonard? There's a little bit of a delay, it looks like, as far as what's playing and then the chat, I guess. So I figure we'll wait a little while till maybe some more people get in here. But I kind of had an idea with the last Watch Me Work where I did a ceiling fan. Rob Holland had a comment in that video about he just couldn't believe that, people pay people to come do some things like that. But he understood, there's some people obviously who can't, if you're older and can't get on a ladder or those kinds of things. But it's true, a lot of the things that used to just be, these are things that homeowners just did themselves. That's not the case anymore. So I just thought we'd talk about some crazy stuff, or maybe the simplest thing that you've been asked to ever do whenever you got to the job and you're just like, I can't believe that I'm even here to do this type of thing. I've got a couple that I thought I'd talk about, but I'd see if anybody else had any other stories that we could share in the comments. I'm trying to get situated right to where it's the best with the camera. Might be better off me to be back farther. Then I still haven't figured out yet I was going to set me up a TV over here and hook up to where I could see the chat. And of course, my eyesight's not good to where, if I don't have something decent size over there, I probably wouldn't be able to read it. But then I'm not going to be able to scroll like what I can with this, so that if I miss a comment, I'm not going to be able to go backwards and see if somebody said something. So I don't know. I'm still debating on what's the best route to go ahead and work with that on the chat. Yeah, I agree. Quiet Vibes. 90% of homeowners don't do a lot of work, and some of it is they don't have the knowledge or the want to do it, or I guess the knowledge or the skill to do it. But a lot of it is they just don't have the want to do it, and they just would rather pay somebody, and it's fine by me. That's money that's going to go in my pocket, but I don't know what's going to happen long term because there's not very many people that are willing to go out there and learn how to change ceiling fans and to go out there and do electrical work and to do plumbing work. I don't know where we're going to head in the United States anyways. I don't know where everybody else is from, but that's what it seems to be going to in my area. Like I said, it's few and far between whenever I go to someone's house in my area where they don't say, I absolutely cannot get anybody to come out here and look at this. You're the first person that's ever even come out to give me a price, to look at it, to see all those things. I mean, it is crazy the little amount of workers that there are that do, whether it's trade work, whether it's handyman work, whatever it is. And again, I know it's different in every area, but my guess is it's probably pretty close to that, everywhere. What's up, Anthony A? Houses are like computers now. People use them every single day, but have no idea about repair and maintenance. 100% agree with that. The lack of maintenance is just astounding, and a lot of it too is there's so many things going to rental housing, and people who have rental houses, especially if you're in the kind of work that I'm in. I typically don't even do work for them because they don't want to do it to the Morgan's maintenance standards. So I don't work for a lot of property managers and things like that because that's just not the work I do. But lack of maintenance on buildings just blows my mind. Some of the places where I go into them, I'm just like, I can't believe nobody has done something with this before now. What's up, G Nick? Like I said, I'm gonna wait a little while to see how many people we can get in here. Wait just a few minutes. And I got a couple stories, but like I said, y'all can share your stories. Rob Holland in case you just jumped in, Rob Holland in the last Watch Me Work where I changed out a ceiling fan, he just said he just couldn't hardly believe that people will pay to do something as simple as that. He said, and like I said, he said he understood, there's some people who just can't because they're older or single or whatever it might be. But that ain't even close to some of the stuff that, I've gotten, whether it was a work order at the campus that I worked at, or whether it's a service call where someone's called me to come to their house and look at it. And you get there and you're just like, I can't believe that, you're asking me to do this and they're going to pay me what you're going to pay me to do this. It just blows my mind. And then the other side of that, I guess, would be, I can't even remember what my thumbnail said now. This job's so easy that someone without a brain could do it. The other side of that would be that a lot of people think that our job is so easy that anybody can do it, and that's why they don't place value on the work that we do. So you could look at that thumbnail two different ways. For instance, I was scrolling through Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook. I've even got a fake name on Facebook. I'm only on there for Marketplace. But I was scrolling through there, and there was a post that said, "In search of someone for a simple woodworking job, small job, PM me if interested." And I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that if you ever see a post like that, your best bet is to just not even answer it, because I hear those words at the very beginning of that, and it automatically switches a thing in my head that says you do not want to work for this person. Because if it's such a simple woodworking job and it's a small job, it's not going to take a lot or whatever, my first question is always, well, then why aren't you just doing it? If it's so simple that you can phrase it in that way, then why are you just not doing it? So basically what they're saying out front is, what they're really saying is, I'm looking for somebody. I don't think I should have to pay you very much. PM me if you're interested. That's really what they're asking with that. So I never, if I see words like that on something, again, I don't even get on Facebook looking for work, but if I see somebody that calls me up and they kind of phrase things in that way, it's already a thing in my head that says, you think that my job is so easy that anyone can do it. And then on top of that, you're basically telling me you don't think that you should have to pay very much for whatever this job is. So again, I just look at it in that way. What's up, TPG, or the Practical Gadgeteer? G Nick says, I do some stuff for a friend. They have a list of probably 24 things that they built up over the years. Some of them are simple 10-minute jobs. Yeah, there's a lot of simple stuff out there. And like I said, you can make a whole business out of it, especially like in my area. As I said at the beginning, there's so few people doing it that if I show up at somebody's house, I've already won half the battle. I mean, they're ready for me to start that day because they've already called 6 other people. Can't get anybody to come look at it because my area is so hit with big jobs. There's all the big jobs you could possibly want. So all the big companies, they're not going to go to somebody's house and do even a service call because they're not going to pull their guys off of these, $1 million, $500,000 jobs to go to somebody's house to spend 2 hours and, make a couple $100. They're not going to do that. So it's few and far between that you can even get somebody to come to your house. Tool reviews of tools I use. Hey Morgan's great to see you live. I'm also amazed at how little people can do. When I see the man shed and not a single toolbox or even a drill, it makes me sad. Yeah, and it's the way we're going. And I've even got two boys of my own, and they're capable of doing things, but they're just not geared to want to do things like what I do. It's not that they couldn't do it. It's just it's a mindset of different generations. I was always interested in learning how stuff works and how to make it work and working with my hands and those kinds of things. It's just not the thing these days. Again, I'm not bashing on younger generation. They do good at the things that they're doing. It's just nobody typically thinks about working on their own house, learning those things, those kinds of things like that. Sean H., love watching your videos. You inspired me to crack and learn different techniques to get the job done. And I'm still learning on this live stuff. This is probably going to be a mess the first several times I do it. And again, I'm trying to figure out some way. I'd like to have it to where the chat's going on over here so I'm not looking down at my phone. But then, like I said, right now I can go back if I miss somebody and look from this. And I'm not going to be able to do that if I put something over there. So I know a lot of people do it from I guess they do it from their computer on a webcam or something like that. I'm not real sure, but so I was thinking about some simple jobs that I couldn't believe that I was asked to do. And I've been asked to come to somebody's house and knock a wasp nest down. And I'm not talking about an 80-year-old lady that, obviously can't get on a ladder and she's a woman. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about that, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about grown men have called me to come to their house and knock down wasp nests, and they weren't allergic. Again, I would get it if you were allergic maybe, and you just want to make sure that you don't get stung and go to the hospital or all those kinds of things. I've had that multiple times, whether it was a service call, especially work orders at places where I worked. I've had to change out light bulbs and lamps that are on the ground, like on a end table. I've had that be asked of me. Twist in just your regular light bulb. You go to somebody's house and you change a light bulb, not in the ceiling, not in a light fixture. I'm talking about in a lamp that's beside somebody's bed. The bulb's not working or the light's not working, and all it is taking a light bulb and twisting one out and putting one in. I've done that before. That's been crazy. G. Nick, I grew up learning how to fix stuff. Crazy how people don't know how their home works. Agree. Jonathan Garcia, hi Morgans. I have to say thanks for the tool reviews. You've saved me so much time and effort finding the right tool. Glad I can help. And again, with all my tool reviews, I hope everybody understands I'm not pushing tools on you. I'm just buying them anyways. I'm going to make a video. You can decide if they're right for you. So hopefully y'all never feel like I'm trying to push a tool on you. Most of the tools I'm buying, they're ones I'm going to use because, again, like I said in the last live, I'm not a million YouTube subscriber making money like crazy type thing to where any tool I buy, I'm only buying it because I'm going to use it, and then I'm going to review it because I have it, just to let you guys see it. And maybe it's something that works out for you, maybe it's not. It doesn't matter to me if anybody buys any tools or not. I'm just giving you the information that I have to hopefully help you guys make the decision, because it's pretty useful. I didn't even really start watching YouTube videos, tool videos, until probably maybe 6 months before I made my very first video. I probably wasn't even on YouTube, period. And then I started watching some people working, and then I got into watching some tool reviews, and I was like, man, that's how I found Knipex. Because again, Knipex isn't very big in my area, and they just started carrying them at Lowe's. But other than that, I would have never known they even existed other than watching videos. So it helps out. Let's see. TPG, you know how embarrassed I've been to hire certain things done. I have to balance of toddler and not belong on a ladder. I could probably change the ceiling fan, but it would be so. Like I said, yeah, TPG, like I said, there's people out there who 100% for whatever reason they can't do certain things. So that's why I don't never think it's crazy just because somebody asked me to do something that I think is simple, because there's certain people who can't do it and certain people who shouldn't do it. So there's times where you're doing something that's, like I said with that ceiling fan, to me, that's a mundane job because I've changed out I mean, probably thousands in my lifetime, and I don't think anything about it. And I think how simple it is. And then you think, well, everybody should be able to do it, but that's not the case. I mean, it's not always going to be the case. But then there's sometimes where I see, I I know there's people who could do it and they don't do it anyways. But here's the craziest job. This is the one that I put on my board over here. So I had a call that her freezer door would not stay shut was what the work order was. So what would you think that would be? So like I said, like I've said in some of my service calls, a lot of the times whenever I get a work order or I get a service call and someone tells me this is happening, and my brain already goes into how am I going to fix this mode? What's going to be wrong with it mode? So I start circling in my brain what all would it be even on my drive over or whatever it might be. So especially if I can stop at a store on my way there and pick up stuff. So you're going to be thinking to yourself, well, the freezer door's not shutting. There's probably, it's the seal's probably messed up was my number one thing. I was like, I'm probably going to have to take off the seal, or the thing said the freezer door won't stay shut. That's the way that it was worded. And so I was thinking, the seal wasn't grabbing, basically. That would be my first guess on it, or whatever it might be. You're doing fine. Keep up the good videos. Uh-oh, TPG actually nailed it down there. I'm surprised you got it. So I got there, and I kid you not, I wish I had a way to even describe it. And I think I took a picture of it a long time ago, and I actually was looking for it, which it wouldn't matter with this. I wouldn't be able to put it up, on the screen or anything anyways. But I got there and I said, so your freezer door is not staying shut? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, can you show me where it is? And I said, as I'm walking to it, I'm even saying, it's probably going to be a seal. I'll probably have to replace the seal, but I'm going to have to get the model number and all that. So I couldn't pick up what it was on the way over and those kinds of things. And then I get there and I'm talking not just a little bit of food in the way. I mean, if that door was open like this, and you was wanting to shut it to here, there was food sticking out, I mean, a foot past the freezer door, like the hole where it actually was. And I was dumbfounded in how am I even supposed to say what's wrong here and not like make someone feel stupid or, whatever it is. I mean, how do I even approach this to say, well, I mean, you've got food sticking out here. It wasn't even like it was just barely sticking over to where somebody's trying to shut it and it's almost closing. I mean, if the door was shutting at 0, it was hitting food at 45 degrees, and I mean, not even coming close. And then I was like dumbfounded on how am I even gonna not upset this lady's feelings. I don't want to call her like dumb or whatever it might be, but how do I even say, well, I mean, you just really need to move your food out of the way. So, I mean, I rearranged her whole freezer and all those kinds of things and moved stuff around and made that happen. But that's by far, and I wish I could share with you the picture, but I couldn't find it. I went to look for it, or else I would post it on a post or something like that. But it was crazy in my mind. There'll be a point where the average maintenance will have to be more certified than a licensed plumber, electrician, wall remediations, etc. They might only be able to change a bulb and clean pedals. Yeah. TPG said Alzheimer's. No, I mean, this was a young girl, like probably in her 20s, I guess. At the time, this has probably been about 10 years ago. So, but it was a younger girl. I mean, just didn't even think about it. LOL, at least in Washington. But yeah, I've had all kinds of stuff like that. But to Jonathan, to your point, there's going to be a point where the average maintenance will have to be more certified. And see, I get junk all the time, and again, I'm all for people need to be licensed this and licensed that. But I always love it how electricians, plumbers, and again, don't take this as if I'm slamming like they all do this or anything. But like you'll even hear people be like, I watch videos and, oh, this is why you need to hire an electrician. I'm going to tell you right now, there's some electricians in my area that I go behind them and they're actually licensed electricians and they do horrible work. So just because you're a licensed person doesn't mean that means you're better than a maintenance person or whatever it might be, because there's plenty of maintenance guys out there I know that go above and beyond. I mean, in my videos with the torque screwdriver, how many electricians in your area are using torque screwdrivers? I guarantee you there's none, because there's none in my area, even though that's something you're supposed to be doing. But no, none of them do it. but they like to dog on maintenance people and handyman and things like that. And again, there are some of them out there that don't need to touch a receptacle or a faucet or anything within 10 feet. But there's some of them out there that are better than licensed plumbers and licensed electricians and all those things. They've been doing it longer. They just don't have that license behind their name. So it's always sometimes the way that goes. I appreciate your videos, brother. Support blue collar. Appreciate that 904 Hunter. So y'all can be thinking about some ideas, and I don't know if maybe I need to do a community post of some things that y'all might would want to do in a live video, because this is the thing I like about this video. It's not that I necessarily want to do live videos. It's a little bit weird in my opinion, but it's better to me, certain things, to have comments in the bottom, and then we might need to decide, is there a time of the week that's better for some people than others, those kinds of things. It's like, it's supposed to rain tomorrow is the only reason why I decided I'm gonna come out here tonight and do it. I was gonna do it tomorrow, kind of the same time that I did it last week, but we might get some rain. It's gonna be loud in here, so I didn't want to do it then. But other topics that you guys would like to talk about, and again, share some of your stories in the comments. If you've got some kind of crazy job that you back on now, maybe. Let me try. Yeah, my phone disconnected from the internet, I think. So I don't know if I'm back on now. Yeah, my phone disconnected from the internet or something. I'm not real sure why that happened. So uh, we'll see if that works. So Ryan said there's an old guy I work with who's been a handyman for 40 years and actually is a certified electrician, but now won't touch electrics because he got shocked once in the 80s. So uh, I've only been uh, I've only been hit with the 120. I've not been hit with anything bigger than 120, and it's mostly been in light fixtures where there's a lot of times in older houses in my area, and again, this could be everywhere. I don't know. I've only worked in my area, so I don't know if this is a worldwide or American thing or whatever. But a lot of times it seems like the houses in the 60s and 70s, whenever they were running all their light circuits, they would go to the light fixture and then come off of that for stuff, and then they would go to the switch with a neutral instead of with the hot. So then you still had a neutral and a hot in your box all the time, and you'd end up touching it and getting lit up a lot of times. That's just how it worked, because they switched the neutral instead of switching the hot. So you would turn the light switch off, the light would go off, and then you'd get up there and start working on it, and the next thing you know, you're getting hit with it. Water line to faucet, yeah, that's a. And again, I try to think about. Sometimes I think about things and I think this is crazy that somebody's paying me to do it because it's so simple. But then a lot of times we've done it for so long that we kind of think about everything being so easy. Whenever somebody's really not done anything their whole life, I could see why even wanting to even touch a water line, you might say, I'm not doing it because I've never even touched it before. And if something goes wrong, I'm going to flood my house, those kinds of things. But it really blows my mind now because people today have it so much better than what we did even just a few years ago with YouTube. I mean, you search anything, you can find how to do anything. It's like whenever I work on my vehicles, I'm not a mechanic. I usually just pull up and find somebody's videos, and then I'll start looking at it and be like, yeah, I think I can do that. I can tackle that myself, and then I just do it. But JTX tools, I got this quite a few times, showing up to diagnose no power to outlets when the GFSI needs. Yeah, I've done that a million times probably, where it's just walk in, push a button, or even just a breaker's trip for some weird reason, which usually you stay and try to figure out what happened. But GFCI is all the time. That's a lot. Those AFCI and GFCI breakers are real bad about tripping and going bad and stuff too. And it's the same thing now, but it's out in their panel. So that happens even more often than typically the GFCI receptacles for us now, because they're putting those in the breaker panel instead of in the house, and then you'd be surprised how many homeowners don't even know where their breaker panels are or their air filters for their furnace. I mean, how many of y'all have walked into somebody's house to do like a HVAC work, and then you're like, well, when was the last time you changed your filter? And they don't. It blows their mind that there's even such a thing that they were supposed to even know about. That happens all the time. Apartment maintenance couple got zapped changing a ceiling fan because the switch on the wall was upside down. My right hand touched the wire, but my left hand felt the zap. Yeah, that's how it gets you sometimes. The only time I've ever got it was just me being a little bit, and this is younger me. I double check stuff more often than not now, most of the time. But younger me, I was like, well, I flipped the light switch, power's off. I'm not even going to check anything. I'm just going to stick my hands in there and just start going to town. And you learn after you get zapped a couple times, you learn not to do that, but it happens. Handyman Nate, DeWalt 20 volt or Milwaukee 18 volt for miter saw and table saw. I love my Milwaukee 18 volt miter saws. Now it depends on which one you're going to get probably. If I was going to buy a 7 1/4 miter saw, I've used both the DeWalt and the Milwaukee, and I really prefer the Milwaukee because of the dual bevel. That's worth it, especially now that you get into with that one, you can't cut crazy big stuff like vertical, but being able to double bevel, you can just lay stuff flat and you can still cut pretty wide boards. Now, if you get up into the 10 and 12 inch, I've only got the 10-inch Milwaukee. I haven't used any of the bigger DeWalt 20 volt saws, so I don't have any input on that. I don't know, and I haven't bought a battery powered table saw yet. I still don't feel like they'd be strong enough in my opinion, but I've not even seen one. Only thing I've seen of a battery powered table saw is videos on YouTube. Like I've not seen nobody in my area has one in person that I've been on a job site that I've watched it work. I bought the DeWalt little 8.5 inch saw uh, last year, and I like it. I like it pretty good. But I've been thinking about getting a battery powered table saw just because that's really the only corded tool that I even have to take on a job anymore. I've 100% swapped over to cordless nailers and cordless tools, miter saws, all those things. The table saw is the only corded tool really that I still have. That, and I've got a DeWalt corded track saw because at the time when I bought it, there wasn't a lot of battery powered options, and I didn't want to buy a battery powered one because a track saw is not something I use every day. So I knew if I bought myself one, it would probably last me for a long time, and I didn't want to get into a battery platform where they quit selling those batteries, and then I'm stuck with now I got to find batteries for my track saw type thing. So I like the Milwaukee miter saws. I'll just say that. I like the 7 1/4 over the DeWalt. I haven't used the big ones, but maybe some other people can chime in on that. TPG, the XGF from hell, hired a handyman to install a ceiling light. The drone wired the light switch and the socket in parallel. Yeah, yeah, that's what I said. I get the notion of people saying you shouldn't hire a handyman for electrical and plumbing and to work on your air conditioner unit. And the bottom line is, what I'm saying with that is, you've got to know your handyman. You can't just hire anybody. I wouldn't hire some random person that I've never hired for anything else to come into my house and do electrical, plumbing, or HVAC. Whereas I would probably call a company that I would think to myself, well, they're electricians or they're plumbers or they're HVAC techs. They should know what they're doing. Now, I will say, like I said, that's not always going to be the case because it just depends on who you have from that company come to your house. But what I'm saying is, if you've got a handyman who you've brought to your house and you give him some jobs, and then you start to see that he's pretty capable, and then you talk to him, and then you can probably tell by the way he talks about things, what he knows and what he doesn't know. You just need to make sure that he knows what he's doing, but don't always just discredit all maintenance people and all handyman that, well, they shouldn't even touch this stuff, because I'm going to tell you there's some of them out there that are better than some of the techs that are actually licensed people. Let's see, Joseph Schuler, I really appreciate your videos. Remember your PhD. Some of us are handy and some aren't. Keep up the good work. My knowledge of most things is residential construction has kept me employed. Yeah, I tell people all the time, if you learn how to do the kind of stuff that I'm doing, you will never be out of work. I mean, I just can't imagine that you would ever be out of work. Now, that's not to say there's not going to be some times where it might be lean or it might not be, but that's going to be in any job. It just depends on what gets affected. But there's never going to be, other than my age, there's going to be a point in time where, again, I'm not going to be doing some of the jobs that I do. Like right now, the job in that Milsey video with the thermal imaging camera, some people came to put gutters on a building and then they didn't get them on with the downspouts back in time. And it came, I mean, a horrible rain. It flooded the entire basement. And we're going in there demoing and out all that flooring, putting in new flooring, having to move all that furniture and stuff around, patching drywall where we cut it up. Just a lot of work. It's me and another guy doing that. And I'm not going to be able to do that forever, but I'm hoping I can change ceiling fans and, go in and change faucets. That's my retirement plan, is I'll just do that stuff for a while and for a few years. But there's always going to be work. There's going to be something that I can do with the skills that I have, and I'll always be able to find something to do with those. So I tell people all the time, it's a really good thing to do this kind of work. And I think more so than anything, if you can get people to work with their hands and then see the results of what they do with their work, like that's the biggest thing for me. I love going in somewhere that just looks like a disaster, and at the end of it, I get to look at it and I fixed it. Whatever it is, that's a feeling that you can't get really doing a whole lot of things. So let's see. Quiet vibes. I've been a home builder for 20 years and hated electrical work. I made myself learn over the last couple of years. Now it's my favorite work. People fear things they're ignorant to. Yeah, it's my favorite thing. If I could pick one thing that I would want to do all the time, it would be electrical work, because, and I like electrical. I wouldn't want to do like, I don't know that I'd want to do new construction electrical work, except for maybe commercial, just because sometimes they got a lot of weird stuff that they put in. I like the puzzle of electric. I love it, like electrical service calls where something's messed up and you've got to go figure it out. That's the puzzle. I think that's what I like the most out of it. So that's what I like. M12 versus M18 orbital sander. I wish the M12 was compact like the M18. Seems backwards. I've got the M18, like the 5-inch. I think it's the 5-inch. It's in my truck. I've only used it a handful of times, so I don't get it out that much. And then the only M12 sander that I have is the detail sander, and I just got it. I've used it a couple times. I really like it so far. I like the size of it. The orbital sander to me is just the same as any other orbital sander that I've used. I used to have the rigid one. It works about the same as that. I've got DeWalt corded ones. I've had Bosch corded ones. I don't see any big difference in the M18 versus any of the other ones that I've used performance wise. But if you're in the M18 platform, it's a pretty good one. Now they've got a bunch of new sanders coming out in the pipeline that are M12. I don't know if they're, and I think some M18. I'm not real sure about the M18. I know for a fact they got M12 ones, but I'm not sure about M18. Going off that table saw conversion, I have the Metabo HPT 36 volt, used for 3+ years. Definitely has enough power for small jobs. Also, they offer an AC adapter. See, I love that. I don't understand why. I get it that certain tools, there's no point in putting to where you can plug an extension cord into it, but every big light, in my opinion, should have the option of, I can plug this thing in or I can put a battery in it. Same thing with the miter saws. It's like, that's the one thing I don't like about the Milwaukees. It's like, most jobs I go to, I've got access to power, and I would just as soon plug it up if I'm right next to a receptacle than stick a $200 battery in the back of it and use cycles of that. I'd rather use those batteries the times I don't have that. Same thing with the table saw. If Milwaukee's table saw was, hey, you can stick a M18 battery in it or you can plug it up, I would have already bought it. I mean, no questions asked. Would have bought it 100%. Wouldn't even bought that DeWalt one. That's what I would have done. But I went with the DeWalt because I just figured there's going to be times where I'm going to need the cord, and I'm not going to be able to use a battery power one because it's not going to do what I want it to do. So I don't know why I know why all the companies don't do it, because they make a lot of money on batteries, but I don't know why they don't, because it just makes more sense to me on certain tools that you should have both options. I would really like it if they did that. TPG is going to retire from the tax farm later this year. Plan to get into the handyman type work I can do that doesn't require balance. Like I said, I love it, but I've been doing this my whole life, and there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. That's just like, if, let's say hypothetically I got really big on YouTube, which I'm not going to, but let's just say hypothetically I did. I'm not going to just do tool reviews for my job, even if I was making good money on it, because it's like I like doing what I do. So I'm not going to, I buy tools to do what I do, and I'm just reviewing them, and it is what it is. But I'm never going to quit doing what it is that I do because I love doing it. There's nothing that I would rather be doing than going and fixing something that's broke or whatever it might be. I love it. There's nothing, no better job that I could imagine myself saying I would rather be doing this. I've thought about that at times. Is there something else I'd rather be doing? And I just honestly cannot think of nothing. Even though it's manual labor, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's nasty, sometimes you're going to deal with some sewage, and sometimes you're going to deal with who knows what. But it's like you just can't beat it, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. There's nothing I like better about it. G Nick, I like the challenges as well, plus the satisfaction of getting something working again. Yeah, like I said, it's the after, like, especially electrical problem like what we were talking about. If I get into it and it's a total mess, but I can figure it out, and like you get one piece of the puzzle and you're like, oh, I know what this wire now does. I know what's going on here. And then you go and get the next piece of the puzzle, and the next thing you know, you got it fixed. It's like just the fact that you were able to, at the beginning of it, you had this problem, you were able to figure it out, and at the end, whatever it was, it's working now like it's supposed to. That's an awesome feeling. That's like my hot tub. I used to have a hot tub. I don't have it anymore, but the board went out in it, or something happened with the heater, and I was like, I'm gonna get out there and see what I can do with it. I know nothing about hot tubs. I know nothing about anything that was going on with it. And I found a spot on the board that looked like the solder was missing. So I was like, well, I'm gonna solder this back up. And sure enough, that's what it was. It was something that was in the board that was causing my heater not to kick on. And then, what did I have to lose? If it was my house, my hot tub. See, I try all kinds of stuff at my own house, and that's how I've learned most of my stuff. I didn't really. I've always worked for either myself at places, maybe with one other person, or I just did stuff at my own house, and I was my own guinea pig, and that's how I learned how to do things. Mostly it's because I was cheap and didn't want to pay anybody. Same thing with the hot tub. It's like, I'm not going to find anybody that's going to come out here and fix it. So it's not working right now. What do I have to lose? I'm going to try some stuff, and sure enough, I got it working. But it's like every time I went out to get in that hot tub after that, I'm like, this thing's working because I figured it out and I fixed it. That's an awesome feeling. I'm gonna do a temperature check out here. It's 90 degrees out here today, just so y'all know. Some of you, some of you act like that's nothing, but it's pretty humid. I'm gonna get up every now and then and do a check on the camera. I also think I was thinking about when's a good time to do lives, and it's hard when you think about it because there's so many people that watch the channel from, I mean, Australia. There's a lot of people from over in the UK. There's people in California, a lot of people in Canada. It's like, so there's not really a good time zone, where you just like, I can get on at this time. That should be when most of the people would have the opportunity to get on. Whether you wanted to get on or not doesn't matter. But I don't know if there's ever a better time to do one or not. But like I said, I'm probably going to make a post on the community post thing and just say, if y'all got some ideas of things you want to talk about, questions and answer type thing, which for the most part, every now and then we could just get on here, and if you've got questions, you can ask, and I'll try to answer them if I can scroll down through here. But again, going live's a complete new thing. I'm just going to try it out for a few times and see how it goes. I really always have liked the live chat in the series premiere of the guest of trade videos. That's what I like that the most out of the guest of trade videos, is getting in that chat and just talking with people every week. It's more of a community where there's several people where you know each other because you talk to each other every week. It's no different than a friend that you got down the street or somebody that you talk to. So I like that. Quiet vibes. I fixed a three-way switch in our house that never worked, and I still get satisfaction every time I flip the light on. That's why I said it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's like if you build something. I've worked on a lot of buildings in my town, and every time you drive by them, or like we used to do a lot of work. A company I worked for did a lot of work in the mall in my area. So like Victoria's Secrets and Bed Bath and not Bed Bath and Beyond, but Bath and Body Works. Did a couple of those stores, a bunch of stores, just stuff like that. But then every time you went to the mall, you got to look at some of the work that you did every time you went in there. And not very many people get to do that. Like, especially I think about people who build houses, like custom houses, and then you get to drive by it every now and then and see that, hey, I built that house. I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah, transit van joke now. That's Rob Holland on that too. I think he does drive a transit van. I never did really ask him, but I'm pretty sure he's got a van based on what he's told me. He's emailed me a couple times. I think he does have a van. Would you ever do a tour of your home workshop, Darbo? I've thought about it. Which this is, I've got a barn, and then I've got this building, and in my barn is where I keep like all my scaffolding and big ladders and those kinds of things. This is more of my tools where I'll bring something in here and work on it, and my staging area for my actual business. So like behind me, like here's tools, supplies in my there's a big truck going by, so I'm gonna wait a minute. In my filing cabinets, I've got supplies like bulk supplies, paint rollers, those kinds of things. And then behind me or behind you, I've got plumbing supplies, fasteners, and all those things. So at some point in time, I'm planning on doing it. I just haven't got around to it yet. And it may be a thing where I do that on a live so that that's the real thing. That's probably the reason why I haven't done it. And that's like my truck loadout videos. I like doing them because I like sharing it with people, but it's one of those things where while you're filming it, it'd be easier if you was just walking around with a camera and letting people ask you questions of, hey, what is that in that box type thing and those kinds of things. So it may be something that I just do like this. That might be the easier way to do it because it was hard for me to film my truck load out and not feel like, well, this is too long of a video, but I don't want to miss anything because then somebody's going to ask me a bunch of questions, and it's always harder to answer questions than it is for me to just talk about it. So that might be something I end up doing, something like this, or at some point in time, maybe I will make a video. I've thought about doing it. I just hadn't done it yet. I got to keep y'all clicking that notification bell, thinking that my next video is going to be my garage shop. But it's not going to be probably as impressive as what you think that it might would be if by looking at this part of it. Anyways, behind you is just mostly just a bunch of supplies and things like that. Let's see. I agree. Milwaukee needs to bring more compatibility with AC plugs. Yeah, I think every brand should do that. I didn't even know the Metabo one did that, and I might look into that. I just bought. Let me go ahead. I was gonna make it. I probably will still make it a tool haul in a tool haul video, but I bought a. I don't think this is in the video over here, so I just bought the Metabo crown stapler. It's on sale crazy cheap at Lowe's. But I've had a Hitachi nailer at for a long time, a 16 gauge, and it works just as well as my Milwaukee ones. Like my Milwaukee nailers are the best nailers I've ever used, but that one performs the same way. Like it doesn't have a ramp up time and all those kinds of things like that. So I actually like the Metabo, it's a Hitachi nailer, that one is. But the Hitachi and the Metabo batteries that I have are interchangeable with one another. And I've got some 36-volt batteries that I got with the triple hammer and actually I bought it, it was just a triple hammer kit. Since then I bought the Metabo heat gun. I really like that. So I've got some Metabo batteries, and I didn't know that their 36-volt table saw took a AC plug. So I might check into that one because I don't mind the Metabo stuff. That's like I went ahead and bought that nail gun because I've already got other nail guns, and their Metabo nailers are just as good as the Milwaukee ones, in my opinion, anyway. So far, out of using those. Do you take jobs on that are rush jobs, and how do you juggle hustling versus biting off more than you can more than what's reasonable or worth it? That's the hardest part of being an individual and not like a working for a company, because when you work for a company, or even if you own a business but you've got other employees, say I'm 100% by myself, and that's the hardest part of my job for me is scheduling myself. And I'm at the point in my life where I don't have to, and I'm not saying this like I don't have to work, but I don't have to be like 60 hours a week and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, that kind of stuff or anything like that, because I've been working for a long time. But I try not to overschedule myself because it's worth it to me to make a little less money and not to be overly stressed, because I'm at the stage in my career where I'd rather have less stress. I've worked my whole 20s and probably most of my 30s. I worked 60 to 80 hours a week, 6 to 7 days a week, and I just kept socking that money back and doing all sorts of things with it. I didn't go out and buy boats and stuff like that. So that's put me in the position where now my time is worth more money, because I'd rather spend it with my family and things like that. So I don't overschedule myself purposely. I still stay plenty busy. I mean, I work every day. I just don't work, 8 hours a day is usually the most that I'm going to end up working, unless it's a emergency, like somebody calls me and has something going on. But I take on some rush jobs. But I mean, anytime somebody wants something done faster or something done, they want me to drop what I've already got scheduled, and they want me to, I mean, if they have to pay for it, that's just the bottom line. That's how it's going to be. I'm willing to do it, but in order for me to take on the stress, you're going to pay me more than what I would normally pay. That's what I typically do. And then that way they're making the decision. I'm not going to just do it just because it's something that, they want me to do. But I'm willing to take on rush jobs. I just don't do it unless, you know, they're going to compensate me for doing those things. But biting off more than you can chew is probably the biggest problem I think a lot of people in their own business do. And then what that causes to happen is you let customers down, and then the next thing you know, you lose customers. So it's a two-edged sword of, you want to stay busy so that you've always got good income coming in, but you don't want to be so busy that you don't meet expectations of customers. I guess that's what I'm trying to ultimately say is, I never do anything. I don't take on work if it's going to cause me to not meet the expectations of the work that I've already got out there. I'd rather even not have something to do for a half a day than to schedule myself so full that that puts me over to where whatever that next day is, I'm late to a customer's job, or I've got to call somebody and say, hey, I took on this job last night that I have to finish. I'm going to be late to your job. I'm never going to tell a customer I'm not going to make it to your house, or I'm going to be late, or whatever it is. That's not what I'm going to do. If I tell somebody I'm going to do something, that's what I do. And that's a big selling point for me. Someone knows that if they call me and I tell them I'm coming or whatever it is, if you do that, you're going to keep that customer. I would say for life. That's just something that they're not used to getting from anybody else out there. That if you tell somebody you're going to do something and you do it, and if you're consistent with that, I mean, they're not even going to get a bid from somebody else. They're not even going to ask somebody else to come to their house. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get where it's, hey, Joey, I've got this, just whenever you can get to it. Not, hey, if you can't get to it, I'm going to call somebody else, or can you get me a price on it? I'm going to get a price from two other people. That doesn't happen. And again, that's why your customer service to me is the most important. And if you show up and you're clean and you do good work and you do what you say you're going to do, and you're on time and all those things, you're not going to lose that customer. Nobody else does that. Would love to see a current loadout of yours, maybe once a month or every other month. Yeah, I typically do if I change something drastically. Right now, I'm still carrying my SBLD, and it's got the same loadout in it as my last video. And then other than that, I'm using my MP pouches. Of course, now I got my Atlas vest. That's pretty much what I'm using that into my MP pouches. I haven't even got out my SBLD very much in the last little bit, because I can typically take care of most things with those pouches. Typically, I'll take my SBLD in if I'm going inside somebody's house for multiple hours, and it's not just I'm showing up to figure out what's wrong with it and fix it. If I've got several jobs I'm doing in somebody's house that day, maybe they've got a faucet that they want changed out and a ceiling fan they want changed out and a this and a that. That's when I'll take a bag in. But that's currently what I'm running right now. I still haven't loaded out my MB5B. It's sitting up here. I just haven't figured out how I want to use that quite yet. Would love to hear about how you price a job. Yeah, that could be something that we could talk about, and I think that's something that could get good feedback from one another. And that's the thing about watching people on. You got to be careful. And again, I'm saying that even about myself. Watching other people on YouTube, it's good to watch them and to get their information and see what's working for them, but you always have to realize that what's working for them might not work for you whatsoever, because your business is different than theirs. Even if they're doing the same exact thing as you, it's different because of the way that they're doing it. It's different because of where they're doing it. Maybe who their customer base is, because some people's customer base, they're in, maybe they don't pay as well because their customer base is more of, it's their income isn't as much to where they can pay as much, but then they don't expect as much. And a lot of times you can either choose to do lower amount per hour and then do a whole lot more work, and then the amount of work you're doing allows you to make more money, or you can just do higher dollar per hour and do less work and maybe not stay as busy, and then yet, but again, you have to do something that demands that higher dollar hour. So you can't just say, well, I'm going to charge more money, but then you don't do the kind of job that somebody expects you to do. You don't come in clean, you don't, show up on time. Those things are what's worth money to certain customers. And that's what my customer base, that's what I try to keep it as. The important customer to me is somebody who puts value on, he's going to be on time, he's not going to make a mess out of my house, and then he's going to do what he says he's going to do, and it's going to work. Whenever he's done, it's going to look professional, all the things that go along with that, because I want a customer who's willing to pay for that. Like I said at the beginning of this, there's somebody who put on Facebook, in search of someone for I've got it written, simple woodworking job, small job, PM me in the details. That's not my customer. I'll tell you right now, just by the phrasing of that right there, that is not my customer, because she's just looking for the cheapest price. That's what that person was looking for. It wouldn't have mattered what kind of job that they did. It wouldn't have mattered any of those things. She just wants somebody to come do something for her, and she wants it to be cheap. And that is never going to be me, but that's not the customer I'm looking for. So it doesn't matter to me that she would never hire me, because I don't want her to be my repeat customer. But the customer who appreciates that I'm on time and that I'm clean and that I fix stuff and whatever it is, I can take care of it. That's the customer who, once they put the value in that, they're not going to find that in very few people in my area. So then again, I'm never going to have to bid against a bunch of people for the lowest price. They're just calling me up and saying, Joey, I want you to do it. Put me on your schedule whenever you can get there. I think that's the way to go. That's what works for me. But again, that might not work for you, because the area that you live in and the customer base that's available to you, if you don't have very many people that are like that kind of a customer, then that's not going to work for you. There's a lot of those kind of people in my area. So that's why it works for me. So that's why I said you got to be careful. It's good to get all the knowledge you can from watching other people and talking to other people that do similar things than you, especially, like I said, if you watch videos on YouTube. But you got to be careful and not just say, well, that's working for their business, so that means it's going to work for mine, because you live somewhere different and your customer base is different. Love the longer videos and streams. Like I said, it's all a learning experience. And sometimes you're probably going to notice more on these than you will on my tool reviews, because I edit the fire out of them things. I can ramble on about some stuff and probably sometimes not make sense, because I am not a big talker. I'll just tell you now, I have worked primarily by myself most of my life. Even whenever I worked on campuses, even though there were other maintenance people, I still just went and did my own work most of the time. And I was off by myself and they were off by themselves. So I was still at somebody's apartment or somebody's office space working. I might talk with somebody that's there, just telling them what's going on, but I have talked in my head, 90% of my life, and not to someone else. So I probably will ramble and maybe even not make sense sometimes on these live feeds, compared to, again, I edit the fire out of my tool reviews whenever I start doing that kind of stuff. Audio dropped. Let me see if it's my... All right, he said it's back. You hear me now? Oh, it was you. I'm blaming it on me. So yeah, garage tour, pricing jobs, and see, back on the pricing jobs, I do it a couple different ways, and every customer is a little bit different. So I don't have a standard way. Some people price stuff square footage and things like that. I never do that because square footage is not always equal. And I get why some people can, like if you're a painter or something like that. But even in my mind, I don't think that you can 100% just, I've got this square foot price. You almost have to have levels of difficulty square foot price. Because if I'm painting square footage of walls and I'm painting 8 foot walls versus I'm painting 20 foot walls, that's a little bit different story. So you can get bit that way. Same way with square footage, like on flooring. A small bathroom's floor, square footage wise, is every piece is a cut. Versus if I'm going into this one big old room, that's a whole lot easier. Everything out in the middle is going to be just whole pieces, those kinds of things. So I don't price anything that way. I know some people do and it works for them. That's not something that's ever worked for me. I price stuff. I find the materials. I price those out, and then I just go based on how many days do I think it's going to take me to do this, or how many hours, and then that's how I go about it. And I usually add myself some cushion in there. I aim to make X amount of dollars per hour, but then if I get it done faster, that's where I really make my money, because then my average dollar per hour goes up, and then I've also gave myself a cushion to where if it takes me a little bit longer, I'm still making good money. It's just maybe not what I wanted to make, type thing. And then on big jobs, I do it the same exact way. So and I'll sit down and figure up. It just changes from days to weeks or whatever it might be. I have X amount of dollars I want to make in a day, those kinds of things. And again, that's something that's going to be different in every area. So if you watch somebody, uh, I watch a lot of different handyman on the Handyman channel. He's always got those videos where I made $3,000 a day or $500 a day as a handyman. That's going to be different for everybody. It doesn't. So don't watch somebody else's video and think, well, I can make $1,000 a day as a handyman. Well, you might can if you live in a city like what he lives in. But if you live in a rural place, I live in a kind of rural area, and I make pretty decent money, but it's not, I'm not going to make the same kind of money as somebody who works in some bigger city where, you just make more money. But it doesn't cost me as much to live where I live either. So it all washes out in the end. So don't ever watch handyman videos and say, well, this guy makes $1,000 a day. I'm gonna quit my job and make $1,000 a day. You might not can do that, in your area. How much time do you dedicate to admin stuff, organizing, sourcing, etc.? How do you make sure you don't spend too much time doing it and it's helpful to the business instead of eating into profits? Yeah, I do it every single. I don't put stuff off. Like whenever I get home, if I've got invoices to send, if I've got uh, bids to do, if I've got receipts to put in, if I've got my accounting stuff I've got to take care of, I do it that day. Like I don't wait. I don't store it up and do it on a Friday. Those kinds of things. Just because I'm always one who I like to go ahead and just get it done, but I also like it to be, if I can spend 5 minutes doing something every day instead of 2 hours. It's harder for me to find 2 hours than it is for me to find 5 minutes. The same way I talk about cleaning my tools. I clean mine whenever I'm done every single job, whenever I'm done with it, because it only takes me a few minutes. Like people always act like, well, that's way too much time. Well, it takes me like a few minutes. It takes me no time at all. Versus if I actually drug every tool out of my truck and actually cleaned every single one at one time, it would probably take me several hours to do that. And it's hard to find several hours of free time, but it's pretty easy to find 5 and 10 minutes here and there. And a lot of times I can do a lot of it from my phone while I'm in my truck. If I finish the service call and then I've got 30 minutes or 45 minutes before my next scheduled appointment, and I've got stuff to do, I'll either message the customer and say, hey, I can come early. Or if I've got stuff I can do, I go ahead and just sit in the parking lot and start knocking some of that stuff out, looking up prices on materials for some other job on my phone, and then writing stuff down. So that's how I do it. Again, I get the approach of some other people. Again, I'm just sharing with you how I do it. That don't mean it's the right way to do it, but that's how I do it. What's a tool that was super hyped that you ended up really not liking? Man, I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's not been too many things that like I said, in the last, I research the fire out of stuff whenever I'm going to buy it. So I really dig into it. I'm trying to think if there's anything I bought in the last little bit. I'm sure I'll think of something. I just can't think of something off the top of my head. I'm looking around my garage right now and I don't have any, because if it's something I don't use, like I know I'm never going to use it, I sell it. Like I get rid of it or I'll trade it off to somebody for something else. But I can't think of anything. So there's nothing in my garage that that I can look around at and say, oh, that's one of them because I've already gotten rid of it if it's something useless. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head. What's a tool that you've had happen for you? Quiet vibes. You had one? What's the Metabo sitting to your right? I guess that's this one down here. It's the 18 volt narrow crown stapler. It's the only cordless nail gun I hadn't bought yet. I still had an air one. I've already sold all my other air nail guns. I kept looking at the Milwaukee, and the prices actually dropped on the Milwaukee to 249. But at my Lowe's right now, this was on sale for 149, and it came with a 2 amp hour battery. And I've got a 16 gauge now that's Hitachi, but it works with Metabo batteries, so I already have that anyways. So I just went ahead and bought that instead of buying the Milwaukee. It's $100 less. I got a battery with it, and I'm already carrying those batteries anyways because I've got the triple hammer. I've got that. Now I have a 16 gauge Hitachi nailer, and I've got a heat gun that's Metabo. So Metabo's all the tools I've used of it so far has been pretty good. I actually now whenever I go in Lowe's, I go to that section and look at the clearance and see if there's any tools that I would use because I'm carrying the batteries anyways. I tried to whenever I swapped over to Milwaukee. I don't know. I guess it's been 4 years ago now. I don't even know how long it's been now. The purpose of me swapping to that, which I started out with M12 with no M18, was I wanted to be on one battery because there for a long time I bought tools that were just if it was a deal, I didn't care what brand it was, and I had rigid batteries, Bosch batteries, DeWalt batteries, and then I started having Milwaukee ones too, and I had Bosch 12 volt and 18 volt, and I just started trying to weed it down because now that I'm in my truck, it didn't bother me much whenever I worked at the place I worked because I just had a bunch of chargers in my office and I just stuck batteries on them. But I don't want to have to carry that many batteries and chargers in my truck. It's just a lot easier to kind of stay within one system. But the Metabos kind of got me going back that direction. But I'm not going to buy anything else besides that. And the only reason why I've still had a Hitachi nailer that I hadn't swapped out yet is the only reason why I went ahead and bought it. And then I got that triple hammer on deal at Lowe's for really cheap. Last question, but what is the top of your workbench made out of? Looks like 2x4s. No, it's just a sheet of, I want to say it was maple or birch plywood. I don't remember. I think it's birch, I guess. Just a sheet of like the cabinet grade plywood, and then I just put 1x4s on the face of it just to make it look beefier. But it's just one sheet of plywood, and then I got 2x4s under that. And then these cabinets, I've got these. I've got two more over there. Those two have they used to be stacked too high. Like these were on casters, and then those were sitting on top of these, and it has a quartz like countertop on those. Those were I was working in a factory and they had a QA lab that they were demoing out and they were just going to throw these in the trash. So I brought these home and just built workbench out of it. And then I use those for storage too. And it's the same thing as if I do a garage deal on the other side, I've got Bed Bath and Beyond. I always get Bed Bath and Beyond and Bath and Body Works mixed up. Bed Bath and Beyond, we tore out one of their stores, me and a buddy of mine, and did all the demo to clean out the store back whenever they filed bankruptcy. And I've got a bunch of Bed Bath and Beyond shelves holding up all my fasteners and all that stuff over on the other side. Festool Domino for me, I thought I needed it for years, and now that I have it, I barely use it. It's a great tool, but overhyped in my mind. Yeah, I've thought about buying that myself, but I knew I wouldn't use it enough. I've got a DeWalt biscuit cutter I use every now and then, but I still don't even use it as much as what I probably should. There's a lot of times where I could use it and it'd be more beneficial, but I just don't get it out. But that's why I've never bought that, because it's way too expensive. I knew I wouldn't use it that much. Uh, that's one of the things that I thought about doing, like if I retired, because I used to do a lot more woodworking than what I do now, and I thought I would really like to build furniture and things like that. I used to mostly just work with wood primarily, but then now I've gotten into so many different things that I like doing, electrical and just different stuff like that, that I just think I'll probably continue working on people's houses until the day somebody forces me to quit, I guess. I don't see myself stopping. I see myself slowing down and doing less things, but I don't. It's probably something I will always do, whether even if I'm just doing it for free whenever I get older, going and helping people out, just because I like doing it. There's certain jobs the older I get where I'm gonna say, no, I ain't doing that. But there's certain things that I'll always be willing to do, I think. Let's see. I don't even know how long we've been on here. What's the count on the time? Anybody know? My wife normally goes walking in the afternoon, so I figured I'd come out here while she's walking. I don't know when she's going to get back. Where did you learn all the things you know about electrical work? A mix of things. My my actual dad is he owned an electric company. Like, he was an electrician, a master electrician. But I only worked with him. He was only in my life until I was in like third grade, I think it was. But even then, I'd go to the jobs. I remember going to jobs and putting on plate covers and things like that, even whenever I was like in first and second grade. Uh, but other than that, so I was around it like as a kid. But other than that, it's mostly been just teaching myself. There wasn't a I learned a few things from a few different people, but I've almost taught myself just about everything. And it's just more so because I'm the type of person how once I see something that I want to do, I'm going to figure out how to do it. Like, I'm going to go research stuff, and whether it's watching videos now, of course, you couldn't do that back in the past. A lot of it's just trial and error. Most stuff I learned on my own house, and then you just start applying things more as you go. And like I said, I've always had some friends who I could call and ask questions who were electricians and things like that. But I would always still typically even try it, whatever it was, before I'd call them and ask them, just because I wanted to see if I could figure it out for myself. I think I said it in a video. I don't remember what video it was, but you'd be amazed at, really, especially like the more that now that I'm in multiple things, I tell people this all the time too, is there's not a lot of difference between the methodology, I guess that's the word. I probably just messed that up, but of electrical, plumbing, it's like the process is very similar of all of it. It's all got this starting point and finish point to making whatever it is work. Uh, it's a matter of the materials is the big thing that's the difference of most of them, but it's a process. And once you learn how to look at a process and realize this is what I'm working with and this is what I want to get to, it's a matter of knowing what materials can I use to make that happen. It's, again, like I said, it's like building a puzzle. So whenever you're dealing with electrical, it's like I've got power here and I got to get it over here, and then I want it to do this. What all materials, what all switches, what all, relays, what all this, what all do I have to put in between there to get that end result? And the same thing with plumbing. It's like if I've got a water coming into my house right here, I want it to get over here and I want it to be hot and I want it to be this. It's got to run through certain things, but it's all a process. And same thing with cold air, all the things that go along with HVAC. It's like I've got a thermostat right here that's supposed to be telling this unit to come on and to do something. Well, it's not doing that. So there's something between here and the thermostat, whether it's the thermostat or a nick in a wire or whatever it is. It's understanding how certain things work is the biggest thing. And then again, learning the materials. And that's the thing that I said that's hard about being a person like me. My life would be so much easier if I had just said, I'm going to be an electrician and that's all I'm going to do. And then I just spent my life devoted to figuring out, I'm going to take all the stuff in my brain that is plumbing. I'm going to take all the stuff in my brain that is HVAC. I'm going to throw it out and I'm going to just stick more electric stuff in there. And then I only had to buy electric tools, things that I would use for electrical. I would have way less tools than what I have It would save me some money that way. My life, I think, would be easier. But again, I'm just saying that I don't know that it would be or not, because if I went to that degree of electrical work, it may be that it gets a whole lot harder and those kinds of things. Because like I said, I don't get into crazy electrical. It's not what I do. But I think sometimes to myself it would be easier. But then I think I wouldn't, I'd be bored because I like doing different stuff every day. That's the thing I really like about what I do. That's why I like doing what I do. But again, it's a process. So the more I know about HVAC, the more I know about framing, the more I know about plumbing, the more I know about electrical, the more I can do certain things and it doesn't mess up the other. That's why I can go into a job, an office build out, starting from nothing and build it in my brain from putting studs up to putting receptacles in the wall to putting plumbing where it needs to go. And even if I'm not doing the work and there's subs coming in, I can see what they're doing and I already know in my brain, I've already built it in my brain. What you're doing right there is going to cause an issue with the electrician, or what you're doing there is going to be in the way of some duct work that's going to have to go through here type thing. And you don't see that with a lot of people, because most of the time you go on a job site, it is people griping about their real estate and doing things that causes someone else a problem later on down the line. And all it takes is like if you have a bad framer, your drywall person's going to hate them. You know, that's just how it's going to go. But if you are the person who is framing it, knowing that you were going to hang the drywall and knowing that you're going to finish the drywall, you're going to do a better job framing it. You're going to do a better job hanging the drywall because you're going to finish it. You know, all those things come into play. And that's been the way that I've been my whole life, is I've done the thing from start to finish. So everything that I've tried to learn how to do, I've tried to learn how to do it the best way to not cause myself a problem in the future. And I think that's why it's made me such a well-rounded person as far as, and again, I'm not saying I'm the best at anything, but I tell people all the time, I'm not the best at anything, but I'm probably, really good at almost everything. And there's not very many people that are really good at everything. There's a lot of people better than me at electrical. There's a lot of people better than me at plumbing. There's a lot of people better than me at diagnosing some HVAC equipment. There's some people who can frame better than me. There's people who can hang drywall better than me. But there's very few people out there that can probably do all those things to the degree at which I'm able to do it. And again, that's a big selling point for me, is as someone who's my customer in commercial, I can go into their space and I can say, I can do every bit of this for you. Like, and you won't have to call another person, and sometimes I've got to call electrician and plumber, but I can basically say, I can take care of this job for you because I know everything that needs to go into this. Whatever it is, I can take care of it. I can get somebody to do it, or I can do it myself. And that's a big selling point. So that allows me to, charge that higher price as well. Says 1 hour and 7 minutes. That's probably too long. I don't know. But as long as y'all are asking questions, and as long as my wife's still walking, it doesn't make any difference to me. Do you do mostly a few small jobs a day or bigger jobs that take several days or weeks, Woodchuck? Right now, I'm currently doing mostly bigger jobs, and then all my service calls, like if someone calls me today, let's just say hypothetically somebody called me today and said, hey, I've got a couple ceiling fans I want put up, a kitchen faucet. My exact answer to almost everybody is, if you're cool with it, I can call you and say, I said, I'll fit you in within the next couple weeks, but I'll call you a day and say, hey, I'm available today. If I can come work on that, or tomorrow, or whatever it might be, I can fit you in tomorrow, because I'm always working on a big job right now. And the big jobs, I mean, a couple week job or whatever it is. Like, for instance, I'm doing the flooring in that place. I'm going to start on that next Monday. It's a big place. It's probably going to take me all week. But there's probably going to be a day in there where maybe that I can't get into an office that I need to lay floor in, or maybe I'm waiting on a material or whatever it is on a Wednesday. So I'll call somebody on Tuesday and say, I can come tomorrow, put in your fans if that works out for you. And if not, that's fine. I can schedule another day and I'll just call the next person on the list. So right now, currently, I'm mostly doing like 2 to 3 day to week long jobs. Every now and then I'm doing, 2 or 3 week long jobs. And then I fit in 4 or 5 service call type things a week for the most part. And then that's pretty much about it. Now I am starting to do some really big jobs as well. Like I'm going to be GCing or kind of project managing a apartment complex, and then there's another job, but those are going to be mostly, I'm not going to be doing a lot of physical work until the interior part. I'm going to be mostly just managing it until it's under roof, making sure everything's getting done. But for the most part, I'd say medium jobs and then service calls is pretty much what I do. And I only fit in the service calls around my medium jobs. But long term, I want to be, I'm 44 right now. I'd like to, by the time I'm 50, or maybe even before that, be 100% service and just get away from the high grunt work of the medium to bigger size jobs. It's a lot easier to schedule medium to bigger size jobs just because I can go somewhere and I know I'm there for a week, and it's a lot easier to make good money on those jobs because, you know, there's wiggle room in those kinds of things than it is service call. I go to somebody's house, I only know how long I'm going to be there. It's going to be an hour or whatever it might be. So it takes a lot of service calls to add up to a week long job. But in the big scheme of things, as I'm getting older, that's what I want to do, just so it's not taking as much a toll on my body. I live in a really humid area and store tools in moderately humid environment. Do you think that the Houdini coats metal tools like sockets enough to the point it won't rust, or should I put down some WD-40? I don't know because I've wondered that myself, but I clean mine so regularly that mine are always getting hammered with it. But y'all probably have seen, I don't think it's in the picture, it's probably not, but it might be. I run a dehumidifier everywhere where I keep my tools. Like, I would recommend you do that no matter what. No matter if it's in a garage, if it's in a basement in your house, whatever it is, it's just going to help longevity wise, keeping that humidity down to where that water's not going to, end up being on your metal tools and those like things like that. Because it probably doesn't matter how much oil and stuff you put on it. If it's in a really humid area, it's going to end up rusting. Pretty good success running the dehumidifier, cleaning my tools pretty regularly with Houdini. I bet that messed up my phone. I had a phone call and I think it messed it up, but I think it's going now. Yeah, I think I'm back on. You guys can let me know, but a phone call came on. I don't know if that messes up the live or not. But yeah, definitely I'd buy a dehumidifier, and you don't have to get a crazy big one if you've got. I mean, the bigger the building, obviously you're going to have to. But uh, I hook mine up in the summertime. I pipe mine outside to where the water dumps automatically to where I don't have to dump it. And then during the wintertime in my area, it's not very humid, so like I might empty it once a week or something like that. It's not anything crazy. Yeah, audio went out, Darbo. I'm sure it was a phone call. I was just checking to make sure it didn't like kill the video. I didn't know how it works, so that's the first phone call I got while I've been out here. Well, 24 people. That's not too bad. I was still trying to think of some other tool that I might have thought was going to be awesome and got it and was really disappointed in it. And like I said, I can't think of anything, which is crazy because I know there has to be some. I mean, there's been some that I don't like as well as I thought that I would, but nothing that's like I still won't use them type thing. They still work. They're just not near as good as what maybe I thought they were. There's been a few M12 tools, the caulk gun, and again, some of you probably love it, but I pretty much only use the M12 caulk gun whenever I'm putting out. I use it. I bought the cartridge for the bigger ounce tubes, and I never put the small tube back in there. Whenever I'm putting up vinyl base, I use it, and whenever I'm putting adhesive like on sheet goods, I use it. But I never like the control of it. It either puts out too much, puts out too little, or the worst thing to me is that the no drip feature, it pulls back so far that it takes forever whenever you pull the trigger for it to come back out again. Uh, that's one of the things I didn't like too much. Please don't trap me. Thank you for your channel. I learned so much from your videos. How do you discover new helpful tools? Uh, every day when I wake up, and this is going to be sad, probably. Every day when I wake up, I check out Home Depot's deal of the day. I check out Lowe's deal of the day. I keep tools in my Amazon wish list that I scroll down and check prices every day. But I'm constant, and that doesn't really mean for new tools, but because I'm always looking at those, there's always new tools that show up around those things, and I find stuff that I didn't even know existed sometimes. And then of course I watch a lot of YouTube videos too, because there's not very many people in the area I work in that are tool people like me. Uh, I've converted a buddy that I work with all the time. He's probably bought more tools in the last couple of years than he's bought in his whole life. Uh, but there's not very many people around me that I'm working on job sites and they've got something new. They're just using the same stuff they've always been using type thing. So it's pretty much mostly YouTube videos or I'm just a big tool nerd. So I go to websites all the time looking like House of Tools. They send me emails of their tools of the week and things like that. So whenever I go look at that, I usually always click and see what they've got new on their website and see if there's anything new that I'd be interested in. And I like trying out tools. So that's why you'll see I've got 10,000 screwdrivers, and it's like I've got more screwdrivers than any person could ever use. But I just like trying out new handles. I like trying out, I mean, I never say to myself, well, this one's good enough, because there might be one that I would really love. Now, I've been stuck on the vessels. That's the longest I've been using the same screwdrivers probably on these vessels for a long time, just because I really like the ball handle. And I know some people don't really care for it too much, but I really like those. But I'm willing to try new tools. And then what I end up doing is I'll run into people on job sites and I'll let them have screwdrivers, or I sell some on Facebook and buy me another set. I wheel and deal tools on Facebook like crazy all the time. Like I said, I'm on Facebook Marketplace. That's the only thing I do on Facebook. I have zero friends. It's not Morgan's Maintenance or anything like that. It's just a random name. It's not even my name. And I get on Facebook Marketplace and sell stuff and buy stuff just for tools. That's all I use it for. Mike S., I'm always rotating tools. It's nice having new stuff in the tool bag. Yeah, I just enjoy it. It's like a lot of people will do a lot of different stuff with their money. It's like people say to me, "Well, you spend way too much money on tools." Everybody does something with their money. Whether you've got a boat, whether you buy cars, or whether you do whatever it is that you do. There's something that you do that you like, a hobby, whatever it is. Whether you hunt, fish, I spend my money on tools. My extra money, whether it's gift cards from kids for birthdays, Father Days, or just whatever it is, you know, I spend mine on tools. That's what I enjoy. It's kind of my collectible type thing, and I'm always willing and dealing in it, trading in and out of it. I've always done that. I buy more tools probably now than I used to, but sometimes I'll buy tools now just because I think, oh, there's going to be some people that's going to like this, and again, it's still going to be something I can use. I'm never going to buy something that I just can't use. Period. But I might like the Milwaukee flip socket screwdriver. I had so many clients. And I know that I don't really care for Milwaukee's handles that much as far as on their screwdrivers. They're just not my cup of tea. I would have not bought that probably had I not had the YouTube channel. But I thought there's a lot of you out there that probably might would like it better than Klein. Maybe you like Milwaukee handles. I'm willing to buy it and just show it to you and maybe show you what some differences are, so that maybe I'll save you from buying it so that you don't buy it if you didn't need it. Or maybe it's the deciding factor of, yeah, I think I would rather have that than the Klein. I'm fine with doing that every now and then. And again, it's still a tool I can use, or I'll find somebody who can use it, or whatever it might be. What resource? Let's see. Just use my Vera torque screwdriver today, installing some plugs and switches, and it worked great. Been working with electrical for years and never used a torque screwdrivers. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, I love that one. And I got that crazy deal on mine. I think I can't remember what it was now, but I made that video. I got on eBay for $25. I think they thought it was just a ESD screwdriver or something, and it was on sale for 25 bucks, and I bought it. And it's perfect for receptacles and switches in that torque range. It would be crazy nice if it went up to like 40, just because then you could do breakers and things with it, but it doesn't do that. I had to get something else to do that. But there's not very many people I'm the only person that I know of personally that uses a torque screwdriver on receptacles and switches. But it's something that most people are probably going to have to start doing, I would think. What resources do you use to sell or trade your tools, and which ones work the best? Normally it's Facebook, and that's about it. And it's gotten hit or miss. It's a lot worse than what it used to be, as far as people telling you they're going to buy it and then not showing up, or just it doesn't seem like as many people are buying things on there now. I don't know if it's the economy and inflation and all that kind of stuff like that. If that's the cause behind it, not a lot of people are buying tools on there. Which a lot of times though, and see, I'll sit on a tool for 2 years if I have to. I'm not going to give it away. And I think most people on Facebook Marketplace also think that if you're on there selling tools, you've either stole them and got a drug problem, or whatever it might be, and you'll have something on there for $200 and they'll be like, I'll give you $50 for it. It's like I'll just leave it sitting in my garage for $50. I'm not going to sell it for $50. So that's gotten a little bit harder to sell on there. A lot of times I do this people on job sites, and I hear them talking about, hey, they'd like a 3-plane laser or whatever it is, and I'd just be like, well, I mean, I've got this Bosch one for sale if you want to buy it, and I'll sell it to you for whatever. So sometimes that's how it all goes, is I actually sell it to people that I'm working with a lot of times. But let's see, what is a hand tool you were hyped to get that disappointed you? Probably the PB Swiss ratcheting screwdriver, but that, I think it was my fault, and I don't have it. I gave that one away because it was a good screwdriver, but I think I should have bought the one. I was intending, my thought process, let me set this out of the way. Let me see if I can find a bit holder too. Yeah. My thought process behind buying, so I bought the ratcheting PB Swiss that was like this size, but the red one with the ratcheting on it. And my thought process was, well, I don't want to buy, because they've got one with this size shaft and they got one with like this size shaft. And this is too short of a screwdriver, in my opinion, like this. I don't really like that as much. But I thought to myself, well, I'll just get this one, and then I can I'll just use my bit extenders and I'll put this in there, and then I'll just have a long one if I want one. But then if I need a short one, I at least have that option, because that PB Swiss shaft that's long is like, it's solid. You can't make it short, you can't make it long. But because of the way this is, now you could probably fix this if you cut like this off and just made this piece right here. But because this is sitting inside of there, you can't really use this screwdriver like that. So that made me not like it. But I don't think that it was necessarily, I don't want to say it's because, well, it disappointed me in the way of it performance-wise, because it's probably one of the better ratcheting screwdrivers as far as the feel of it and all those kinds of things. But it's one of those things that everybody talked about like crazy at the time. Whenever I bought it, like everybody was, the Millis Construction, all them was PB Swiss crazy, and I was watching videos every other day. And then I got it, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna give this away because I'm not gonna end up using it. I could tell it was something I wasn't gonna use, because I just don't like, that's too much handle to bit ratio. Like if I'm gonna only have this much, it needs to be a small screwdriver. That just seems weird to me to use that length right there. Let's see. Yeah, you weren't so lucky getting the great deal. Yeah, that's probably one of the better deals I've got. The only other better deal than that was, and I don't have it in here, it's in my truck, Stabila plate level that goes from 6 foot to 10 foot. I bought all my Stabila digital levels, which I absolutely love. And then I decided, I kept watching the R&R buildings using those Stabila plate levels, and I was like, man, I need one of those plate levels. That would be really nice. It goes from, like I said, 6 foot to 10 foot. So then the idea behind that is I can stick the bottom, one on my bottom plate and one on my top plate, and then it don't matter how bad the studs are. You're plumbing up your wall no matter how bold a stud is. And I put it in my Amazon wish list, and I think I want to say they're $300 and something. I can't remember. Like let's say hypothetically, they're $379 or something like that for the one that I was buying, and it was, for whatever reason, it went on sale for like $90, and I bought it, and like it went right back up. Like I don't know what happened, but I ended up getting it for $90. That's probably my best deal, because I don't remember what that screwdriver is regular price. I want to say it's like $100 and something, and I got it for 25, which is a pretty good deal. But I saved a couple $100 on that Stabila plate level. Called the dinner. Be well, guys. Appreciate you coming, TPG. Nice. Same question for power tools. Yeah, somebody already asked that, A-Rod, and I can't really honestly think of anything that's like this been crazy disappointing. that because it would have to be something I've already gotten rid of, and I'm trying to think if there's something that I've got rid of because I don't have anything. Anytime I get something and it doesn't do what I want it to do, I sell it or I get rid of it or do whatever. So I don't have anything in here staring me in the face. I might have to think about that. But like I said, I research the fire out of tools. So most of the time, I don't have very many misses. Like if I buy something, and I can't think of anything that was hyped anyways. I mean, I've had some bad tools. The Klein stapler, loose cable stapler, that's a piece of garbage, but I didn't expect it to be awesome. I just thought it'd be better than some other ones that I had. I had a review for that. That's one of the few tools I've actually probably reviewed where it was more of a negative review, and that's why you probably don't see very many negative reviews from me. So don't think when Joey just says every tool is good. It's again, I don't buy tools just to buy tools to review them. I'm buying them because I'm going to use them, and then I've already researched it. So it's very few and far between that I buy something that ends up not being good or not being what I expected it to be. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Have you done any low voltage or networking stuff? I consider myself pretty handy and just landed this new job making a maintenance department for this company. I've done so much and never realized how little I knew. I've only done it at the place that I worked at. I don't do it for people like customers like now. But it's mostly because it's just not my cup of tea. But like fire alarm and camera systems, at the campus I worked at, we had all that. In all the buildings, we had like monitored fire alarms to the fire department, and also camera system for the whole entire campus. So I did a little bit of that stuff, but it's not. I'm mostly. I'm not very into the. I guess you'll call it the networking side of it. Like I'll run the wire. I'll put up the cameras. I'll put up the smoke detectors, heat detectors, the pull stations, those kinds of things. But like as far as for like the camera system, getting into and programming things and all that kind of networking stuff, that's not my cup of tea for sure. That's one of the things I'm kind of weak at, and it's just because it's not been something that interested me at all. I don't mind running the wire and putting in the fixtures and stuff because that's no different than doing electrical work to me. But do you plan on adding boxes to your Klein stack pack, or are you sticking with pack out? I've been a mix. Once they come out with, because if it worked in my truck, the way that like this is sitting right here, and again, I don't know if that's in the picture or not. I'm not sure if it is or not. Let's see. The same way. Let's see. Yeah. But I keep the Milwaukee rolling box in my truck with just random tools that I don't use real often, but I want them on my truck. So I've got like my mud mixing drill, uh, big sawzall, because most of the time I use my little sawzall or like some other saw now. I don't use a sawzall near as much as what I used to, whether I get out my bandsaw or whatever it might be. I keep those in my rolling box in my truck, but then I also keep my pack out vacuum here and my an ammo box with my drywall tools on top of that. And I wouldn't mind having this set up in there, except for with my truck top. Whenever I open this, it's too close to the roof. I can't get stuff in and out of the drawer. So that's why I haven't put that in my truck yet. I'd like to be using it, but I did see where Klein just recently came out with the ammo box that you can also take the lid off and use it like a crate. Milo's doesn't have it for me to look at it yet, but if I can swap that over to the drywall tools over into one of those, I might put that instead of using the rolling box, just use the single drawer in my truck and then get two ammo boxes and put on the top. So I'm debating on it whether I'm not going to buy probably any of the organizers like my pack out just because I like the cups being all the same so I can move stuff around if I want to. But as far as drawers and stuff like that, I could see myself maybe buying some Klein stuff. But as far as the organizers, I don't think I'll probably go away from the pack out just because it's the way that I use it. It works well for me that they all interlock like that because then I just throw them in the back of my truck. Camera, speakers, internet, POS systems, working off of PoE. Yeah, not my cup either, but it comes with the job. I'm the same way with that. I can do it if I have to, but I don't do it enough that I've always, anytime I have to go do it, it's almost like you got that half a day of reteaching yourself again because I don't do it enough. And it's just not something that's ever, I don't know why it never really interested me as much. Maybe it's because it wasn't something that a lot of people really did whenever I was younger, because the internet was just becoming more of a thing, and all the cameras everywhere. Now there's cameras everywhere, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it was too late in the game to where it was one of those things they say as you get older, you don't ever want to learn new things. It's the same thing with like your music taste. You always keep listening to the same music over and over for once you hit a certain age, you don't ever listen to new music. It might be something along the lines of that. I just, it didn't interest me because my brain was already full of the things that did interest me that I didn't want to add something else into the mix or something. I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, it's not something that I've really cared to do. Kind of the same way with mechanic type work. I've mentioned that before. It's not that I can't do it. It's just I didn't do a lot of it as a kid. I mostly built, tree houses. I did more like framing and building type stuff as a kid than working on, dirt bikes and cars and things. So that's why my interest, I think, kind of went into construction more so than mechanic. And then, so now it's not something I really look to do. I'll do it for myself, but it's not something I want to do like for somebody else or anything like that. EDC pocket dump. Well, mine's changed now that I've got that vest, but I used to always, and I probably should bring my tool bags in here out of my truck when we do these live so that if somebody asks a question about a tool, I don't have to go out to my truck to get them. But I always carry a Milwaukee, the 1505 fastback, and I don't have anything in my pocket right now because I'm not doing anything. And then other than that, I always carry a flashlight. Uh, but all that stuff I kind of keep in my vest now as far as while I'm working. Now, whenever I'm just going around, I don't have one on right now because I knew I was just coming out here to film, but I almost always carry that Milwaukee fastback in my pocket. I don't carry a flashlight all the time, but I always carry that knife with me. You always have to have a knife, it seems like. What all do y'all carry in your pockets all the time? I still haven't really. I don't use that Gordon Leatherman clone. I can't even think of what the name of it was called now. Is it the Gordon Wave? Was that what it? Or it was a Leatherman Wave clone. I don't remember if the Gordon thing had a specific name on it or not. Uh, I've got it in my truck, but I haven't really used it that much. I've got myself in such a habit of not using that kind of tool that it's not something that I grab. I thought it might be something that I would do, but I can't convince myself to carry it because it's all those tools to me. And again, I get the logic behind it. If you're going to only carry one thing in your pocket, like if I was going to go on some kind of a hike or something like that, where my truck was not going to be anywhere near me, whatsoever, then yeah, I might would want to carry a multi tool with me just in case I run into who knows what. But I'm not going to carry a multi tool into a house when my truck is sitting outside in somebody's driveway that has cobras and everything else right there in a tool bag. I just as soon have the regular tools than to use one of those kind of tools. Again, I'm not against whoever carries them. If you carry them and you use them, that's good. If it works for you, if it works for you, it just doesn't work for me. There's Matt. I was wondering when you was going. I've seen if he's going to come in here. You still have the snap-on pliers, or have you moved away from them? No, those are one of the tools. I guess I don't remember if somebody asked it in that way. What's a tool you bought that has exceeded your expectations? Is the snap-on those needle nose pliers, and I would buy the big ones. I like both of them, but those big ones, I can't remember if it's 7 or 9 or if it's 5 and 7, but whatever the biggest ones are, those Talon grip slip joint pliers, they're awesome. I don't know when Icon's gonna hit theirs out. I was gonna wait around and buy the Icons, but then I just knew, well, even if they came out that week, I'm probably not gonna be able to get my hands on them for like 6 months or something, just because that's how it goes. It seems like because people keep going in and buying them out and all those things. But that's the only, like, if I'm going to grab a pair of needle nose pliers, that's the only ones I'm ever going to grab because they are, I mean, they are awesome. They're phenomenal. No, Matt, I was gonna actually, I was thinking about posting that I was gonna try to do it tomorrow, on Saturday before the premiere of the Guess the Trade, and then I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I decided, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and go out there tonight, just because again, to me, this is more practice than anything, and I'm still debating on what I want to do. I would like to not have to look at this, which as long as the comments aren't coming in crazy like what they are now, then I just look down every so often and read them. I thought about putting me a TV screen over here so that I'd be able to see it and read the comments, but they're going to scroll. And then if I'm talking about something for 10 minutes, I'm not going to be able to just scroll. Like with this, I can at least move up and down on the screen and see if I've missed somebody's comment or something like that, or go back and read it. Versus if I do something like that, even though it'll make it to where I'm not looking down at my phone all the time, I'm not going to, I might miss a lot of comments that way. So I don't know what's the best way for that. So this is more of just a practice thing. I just threw that thumbnail up there just because I talked about crazy jobs Rob Holland had mentioned in that Watch Me Work video with the ceiling fan, that he thought it was crazy that some people, and again, I'm defending him by saying he said up front, I know some people can't, so he's not saying like everybody should be able to. He's just saying sometimes it blows his mind some of the things that you go to that people don't do for themselves, and that's just the world we're living in these days. And I was talking about some of the simple jobs that I've got, that I've went to do, whether it was a work order, service call, whatever it was. And my biggest one was a lady called me and said her freezer door wouldn't shut. And on the way over there, I'm thinking, well, it's probably the seal. It's probably, it won't stay shut. And it ended up being just food piled out of her freezer. I mean, so far that it was just comical. Like, there's no way anybody would have thought this door is ever going to shut. I'm talking about like food sticking out 12 to 16 inches away from the where the door would normally shut. So the door would only go to about 40 degrees, 45 degrees. And that was the craziest one I've ever been on, that I got there and I'm like, I don't even know how to not hurt this lady's feelings by telling her, well, I mean, you just need to move your food around. But that was one of the things that I talked about. Phone screen mirroring. I don't know if it is or not. Let's see. It looks like it might be on my screen, but I don't know. Let's see. I want those snap-ons, but that hurts 70 plus. The small ones would be more my style. Yeah, I was leery about them because again, I've not bought any snap-on tools in my whole entire life, and I've almost even prided myself on, well, I'm not going to get drugged down that hole of just buying these expensive tools that's got this name on the side of it. But they were the only people that had those, and like nobody else really has anything kind of like it. And I've been wanting to try them for so bad, so I ended up pulling the trigger. Which I bought mine on eBay. I bought the small pair and the big pair on eBay, and it ended up being cheaper for me to go that route than to go through Snap-on, because the shipping through Snap-on was crazy high. I think it was going to cost like 20 something bucks to ship it through Snap-on. Have you tried the Nipex 4-in-1 needle nose pliers yet? They're great. No, I've seen those. Those are the ones that's got like a couple gauge wire strippers on it. I think that's what you're talking about. Maybe, what's it do, 12 and 14? Yeah, Russ bought the Snap-ons too. You're an official Ron Burgundy. Yeah. Wings and pizza, not in the trades, rather a DIY. Love your videos. Appreciate that. That's like, I'm technically, I get, I always am a little bit leery of throwing that word out there just because a lot of people, again, like I said at the some point in time during this long video, some people out there, if you're not a licensed whatever, you're not considered to be a this. But I call myself, I say I'm in the trades. I do a little bit of everything. Shane C, I want to sell them too, but I have a hard time buying them. I'm not a mechanic, and I asked the Snap-on dealer if he'd sell me some. He said no, since I didn't work at a shop. Yeah, I bought mine on eBay, Shane. I looked around town. I finally have seen a Snap-on truck driving around my town. I was like, I know there has to be one that goes to these shops, and I was going to see if I could get a. I wanted to hold a pair in my hands, and I wanted to buy the pair because with pliers, I like to actually hold the pair I'm going to buy and see if they're kind of broke in well and all those kinds of things. And I ended up just deciding, you know what, I'm going to buy them on eBay, and I can break them in if I have to. Surely they're going to be all right. And both pairs I got are pretty good. I didn't have any I didn't have any problems because I also watched some reviews where the tips weren't lined up just right on some of them, and that's all luck of the draw. If you order them and get them shipped, you don't know if you're going to get that or not. Versus if you can actually find a place where you can put your hands on them, you can look them over and get you the pair that you want. You can mirror it to. Oh, I got you. Phone screen mirroring for seeing it. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, and then it should still work with. Like, if I scroll on here to move up there. So yeah, that's a good idea. I might look into that, Matt. Appreciate that. That big snap on ticket says something else to me. Kidding. Oh, this here. Actually, it was P sent me that. The one who sent me the Vera tool check. He gave me a bunch of stickers, and that was one of them that he gave me. So I'm a big sticker nut. Like, I've got them all over the place. Got them. I started putting them even on my pack out drawers in my truck and stuff too. But I don't just go. I don't buy random stickers. I just put them up whenever I get them. But he sent me that one along with probably several of them. It looked like a KC Tool sticker pack. He sent me a lot of those in with that Vera tool check. I own a 3/8 ratchet, old one, and 5-ish 10 millimeters. So that's the snap-on stuff. Yeah, those are the ones on the Nipix. Yeah. So it is 10 and I'm assuming it's 12 and 14, I guess. My worst job was an old cloth wire ungrouted fuse panel that had wires loose flopping around, no hard disconnect outside. Yeah, that the campus I worked at prior, I had some videos of the old fuse panels and stuff like that. And their whole entire one of the buildings, it was built in the 1940s, and it was solid. Like the original building burnt down. So then when they built this one back, they did it 100% like concrete floors, concrete ceilings, block walls, so that if a fire started in one room, there really wasn't very far that it could go. But every bit of the wiring was in conduit in with the cloth wire and no ground. They're using the ground for, the conduit for ground. So then every time you went to pull wire, whether you went to change out a light fixture or whatever it was, I mean, that cloth stuff would just pull off like crazy. You'd be lucky if you'd end up having to re-pull stuff all the way back to that panel almost every time you do something because you couldn't undo it and retie it again without getting into a big mess. I spent a lot of I spent a lot of time rewiring that building. Most of my whole job there seems like it was electrical work on this. It was a really big building. I can't remember how many square foot it was, but it was three floors, uh, big dormitory, old style dormitory, lots of rooms, lots of those things. There's P. P's in here now, so he's the one that gave me the Snap-on sticker. I'm not a mechanic. I've had a Snap-on dealer that comes to my house. It really just depends on the dealer. You can call Snap-on directly, and they will give you the dealer's number in your area. Yeah, I tried looking mine. I tried looking up. I think I got on Snap-on's website to see if they would give you, and I ended up calling a number that said it was, but I never did get a call back from them or anything. But I don't think that whoever it was still a Snap-on dealer in my area. I think it was an old listing or something like that. But I have seen one since I bought those. I've seen one driving around my town, so there is one in my town now. Another question, since you mentioned the tool checked, how is your case holding up? I don't use mine all the time, but my case seems to fall apart. So far, mine's been good. I haven't used mine that long. I just got it not too long ago. I don't know how long P had it before he sent it to me, but it looked like it was pretty new. I don't think it was worn that much. And so far, I haven't had any problems with mine. But I've only primarily just used the bits section, and I've been getting it out of that vest and putting it right back in there. So it really basically comes out of my pocket, folds open, folds back, and goes back in my pocket. So it's not getting a whole lot of wear and tear. The semi-deep 10 millimeter snap-on sockets are real handy. You should have had them pull a couple million more in insurance just in case. Yeah. If you can get a hold of a dealer, the prices are lower. Yeah, I figured that was probably the case too, P. That was another reason why I thought they might even have some stuff on the truck every now and then where they're. I doubt they would have those pliers because they're such a big seller, but I thought there's probably some times where they get stuff returned or something like that. I don't know. You guys can let us know if you've ever been on a Snap-on truck. I don't know if they've got like this tool was returned. There's really nothing wrong with it, but they sell it to you at a discount or anything like that. I'd like to go on one of them trucks one day. I watch like the Coon trucking videos. There's a couple other ones where they go on tool trucks all the time. I like watching those. A lot of them tools are stuff I wouldn't use because it's mostly for mechanic shops. But I still like looking at tools, even though it's a tool I might not ever use. I still like looking at them, and it's still something that interests me. For the job you were talking about, yeah, on the insurance, yeah. I'm trying to think of if I've had any other place that was worse electric. And the electric there was at least all run correctly and like not big gobs in places. It was just the bad wire was the worst part of that. Now I've been in plenty of places where I've went and opened a junction box, and I'm talking about something I've never seen before. Like how did this even get to this? Blows my mind. I remember one time that I had a call for a light fixture in a stairwell that they said they had just put in a new LED fixture, and it went out and they couldn't get it to work. And I went and pulled the light fixture down, was checking voltage, and I had 240 at the light fixture. And ended up being, I found this junction box that, I mean, I bet it had, I ain't kidding you, 35 wires in it, counting hots, neutrals, two or three circuits in there. And basically, some people had got in there and crossed stuff up and did a bunch of stuff. And I ended up, I was like, I couldn't even make sense of it. So I just said, I'm going to pull out every bit of this wire. It was all in conduit at least. There was a few like MC things coming off of the box too. And I just pulled every bit of it out. And again, like I said, it's a process. I had power here. These lights weren't working. What do I need materials wise and that kind of stuff? It's all the same process. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical. It's different materials. It's once you get the thought process down and you realize and don't get so tied up in what your problem is, but realize what you have that's working, what you've got that's good, and what it is that you're going to. What do I want it to do? What do I need to put in between there? How do I need to make this work? That's the whole process of the mindset. If you get that, you can do a lot of things. Like, and it doesn't, you're not tied to just doing something in particular. So I just ripped out every bit of that stuff and was like, I got to get back to a point where I know what it's doing. And then I'm going to go back to this light that's not working, and I'll change all this to make that light work along with anything else that's not working once I get it back to that point. And that's the only way you can really tackle stuff like that. You can't just, I'm going to fix this light, but then really there was a lot of other stuff going on that they just hadn't noticed yet because, whatever it was, those lights they hadn't turned on or nobody had noticed those things. It's just a big problem. But yeah, you run into some crazy. Electric is one of the things that to me you run into. It's probably that and plumbing both, but you run into some crazy stuff that people do. And that's why I said there are some people out there that should not touch electrical. So, but there are some electricians out there that don't do that good a job either. So just because somebody's an electrician and just because somebody is a maintenance person, handyman, that doesn't mean that this person is better at electrical than this person, and vice versa. Every person is different. There's some people on both sides of that don't know what they're doing. If I saw a Snap-on truck, I would try and pick them up right there, but it would have to be convenient for me, impulse buy. Yeah, my dealer has a bin where you walk in the truck that's all return tools, and they are pretty good on discount. So yeah, I'd like to get on a truck for sure then to see that because I'm basically if I've got whenever I wake up in the morning, I check a few places for deals of the day on tools, and then whenever I'm between jobs, again, like say I finish a service call early or I finish my job early and I'm going to be passing by a Home Depot or I'm going to pass by Lowe's on my way home, I stop in there and I go to that back aisle clearance. I go through the tool section looking for yellow tags. And then whether it's sometimes it's tools I buy, sometimes it's products that I know I'm going to use that are on clearance. I've actually gotten lucky at Home Depot. I had never gotten a penny item before, like ever. It's not been a thing. And then here in the last, couple last month, I got some washing machine hoses for a penny. I've gotten a bunch of those extension cords. I've got like 10 of those sitting over there for a penny. and there was something else I ended up getting for a penny. And I've been wanting to try. There's been some of those Milwaukee long sleeve like dry shirts. They've been on clearance for $29 is what the tag says. My guess would be that they're only going to be something. I would think they got to be getting close to being a penny. They've been back there forever. And then some cut-in boxes, the plastic cut-in boxes, two gang and single gang. They were back there and they were marked as like $1 something a piece, which was still like a pretty good discount. But I ended up getting them for, I think it was 33 cents a piece or 35 cents. They dropped down. They weren't a penny, but I still got them for crazy cheap. So then I went back and bought a bunch more of those. But I've been getting pretty good deals at Home Depot here lately. And again, it's those things you don't know. You just got to go back there. I always pick up something that I'm gonna buy anyways, or that I could use if it's a crazy good deal. And if I get up there and ring it up and it's a penny, then I go back and get more of them. But usually when it's an old place or quote, I say it's gonna need a box. If it doesn't, then the price is lower. Yeah, on the ceiling fans on a box. I also just got these. You guys can let me know if you've tried these. I bought these just to have on my truck as an option. I'm gonna try them just to see what I think about them. I don't know if I can get it out of the bag. Sometimes I don't like the ceiling fan boxes where the bars come out a lot. Just sometimes I don't mind them. They're just not my thing. But this one's a Southwire Romex smart box. And basically you got, let me see if I'm in the picture here. Let me see what I got. But you basically, I'm gonna come on the other side so I can see what I'm looking at. There's 3 screws in there that basically, as long as you slide that up against the joist, you've got this big brace, and then all those screws are going to lag right into your truss or whatever it is that's up there. So I haven't used this one. I bought 2 of these to try out. Like if I get into a job where it's a big pain to put in one of those with the metal that spreads out. And then somebody commented on a video a long time ago and suggested this one. Let me see if this one's in the picture as well. Easy Brace 101. I got it on Amazon, but it basically works with a plastic box, a ceiling box, and I don't know if you can see that in the picture or not. You put it inside of an existing box, and then the screws go through and into the joist. But I don't think this one, I mean, it's patent pending, so I'm sure this one's not like a listed thing that you could use. This would be something that you'd try in your own house or something like that. So I just bought it because I was curious how it worked. I saw it on Amazon. I bought it just to check it out. But if any of you have tried either one of those, the Smart Box by Southwire or the Easy Brace 101, let me know what you think about them. I just picked those up here lately. Now what do I do with my phone? Oh, right here. Oh, penny items. They've slowed down for me, but I made a ton of money off of them. Yeah, I did learn my lesson on the extension cords because they had 2 boxes of the extension cords. So there was probably, my guess, 100 of those extension cords. So you could think to yourself, if I could get 100 extension cords for a penny a piece and then sell them for $5 a piece, which you'd have no problem doing. I mean, they're 12 gauge wire, 25 foot long. But I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get up to the front with 2 boxes of extension cords, and then because they won't, if they know that you're gonna buy them. So unless you've got some kind of a friend at Home Depot or whatever, they won't sell them to you at a penny. If you go to a cash register, you have to do it at self checkout, which I think is kind of, I don't understand why, if they don't want to sell them for a penny, why do you have it in your computer system to drop it to a penny? You could easily just take that out of the computer system and not have that problem. So I don't know why they do that if they don't want to sell them to you for a penny. My guess is there's a lot of times where once they know it's a penny, there's probably somebody at that store who buys them himself or sells it to his buddy, and then they sell it and do that. That would be my guess, because I don't see how Home Depot would care to sell them for a penny. And if they did care, they wouldn't allow their computer system to drop them to a penny. So that's my take on it anyways. That's how I feel about it. P first started working with my dad. We got a pretty high and expensive shower door for a penny. That's nice. Best deal was a 20 pack of M12 two pack, 22 pack of M12 batteries. Yeah, that's a really good deal if you got all that. Southwire boxes are great. Use them for single gang and double gang boxes. I can remove them when I need to replace them. Yeah, I like this idea. Again, I haven't put one in yet, but I definitely like that idea better than sticking that bar up in there and hoping that it spreads and stays tight between two trusses or whatever you've got up there. I like actually screwing something in. I think to me that's a lot better option. But again, I haven't used it yet, so I didn't know if it was any good. But Evan Bunch, the electrical work I've seen you do is better than some I've seen from licensed electricians having a license. That's exactly what I'm saying, Evan. There's plenty of electricians who I've had actually come do work that I'm just like, no, this ain't how you do that. I've had to tell them what to do. And again, there's some out there that are way better than me. So don't take that as me saying I'm a better electrician than electricians. Like I said, there's people who are better at everything that I do. There's somebody out there that's better than me at everything. I just know how to do a lot of things. But just because someone is a handyman doesn't mean that they do shoddy electrical work. And just because somebody's an electrician doesn't mean that they don't do shoddy electrical work. You have to learn about the person before you hire them and all those kinds of things and understand. And again, you shouldn't let a handyman do certain electrical things, but as far as maintenance stuff where they're just coming in your house and doing just normal stuff, you don't need an electrician for some of those things. At least not in my area. And again, I'm saying that every area is different. Some areas you can't even touch electrical stuff unless you are an electrician. My area basically, as long as it's something already in the home, something already in the office, everything is considered maintenance at that point. It's whenever you go moving things, adding things, and then again, that's just dependent upon whether or not someone's pulling permits and all those kinds of things like that. Matt HMM, those easy braces, when I talked to some inspectors, cringed. Yeah, I bet my guess would be that nobody's going to okay it. Like if you are actually on a job where, it got inspected or something like that. And then if something did happen and it fell down, like I said, it's not got any kind of, matter of fact, like I said, it still says patent pending on it. So I don't know what would happen if it failed. You might end up eating something on that. So I would only install that at your own risk, and then also probably want to do it at a friend's house or your own house or something first and try it out. I just got it because I was curious. I wanted to see it because it was very hard to tell how it worked on the pictures online, and I just thought it looked like something I wanted to check out. Those box fill on Easy Brace is like six, yeah, at least a grounding hazard. Yeah. As an employee, you can't buy them. Period. Yeah, I have bought some other clearance stuff, and that's what they have told me. But like I said, I think that there's probably some managers or somebody where, like, say for example, and again, I'm just guessing this. I'm not saying that this is what happens, but like the extension cords, if they can go back there and pull them to the side, and then I've got a friend who I call every time I know there's penny items and say, you need to come in here and I'll sell you all these extension cords for a penny a piece. And then you can sell them on Facebook for $10 a piece or whatever they are. And, just to be a friend, because again, it doesn't make sense to me that Home Depot cares to sell them to you for a penny if all they would have to do is reprogram their system to not drop things to a penny. That's a simple fix. I would think the same way you're programming to drop your clearance to a penny, just get in there and take that out. If you don't want to sell them for a penny, just get in there and take that out. So there's got to be some reason why certain stores won't sell them to you for a penny. And then there's some places where I see online where they're like, oh yeah, I'll go in there, and I've seen people going out with videos of people buying electrical boxes for a penny by I mean, 10, 15 boxes of them. And the manager's sitting right there next to him. So you can space the Southwire boxes for the tool and use them. I use them for all boxes. Oh, for tile. Yeah. I have so many electricians that don't pigtail sockets. So lazy. Yeah. Yeah. I still am amazed at how many people don't put ground wires in metal boxes. Like that's literally a thing. Like still. Is that a 36 volt nailer? That's a 18 volt Metabo. It's the crown stapler. I just picked that up at Lowe's. It was on sale. And I've already got a Hitachi nailer that works on the same batteries. So I was wanting a Milwaukee crown stapler. That's the only pneumatic tool that I still own as far as a nailer. And it was $100 cheaper and came with a battery. And I've already got batteries and nailers that are in that anyway. So it isn't as if I'm going to only have this one specific thing that's going to work on that battery. So that's why I went ahead and bought that one. Metabo is supposed to remove them. They get emails or MT for once at items. They get in trouble for leaving them. Oh, MET. Yeah, they went and pulled the extension cords. I went after I bought after I bought a couple and realized they were a penny. I went back in and got a couple more, and then I went up to the lady who I always go and check out with and said, "Hey, these things are ringing up for a penny. I'll buy all of them." And she's like, "Well, I can't sell them to you for a penny." And she said, "Well, I can sell you some more of them for like $2." And I bought a few more for even at $2. I thought it was a good price, but again, it just doesn't make sense to me that they could easily fix that problem. It's the same thing with some stores go crazy about the hack. Like if you go buy tools and go return it, some of them act like you're doing something wrong. It's like you all are the ones that set it up to be this way. If you don't want it to be this way, you can easily make it to where you can't do it on the receipts. You know, you could make it all one item or whatever. But I don't get the process of Home Depot. If you care about the hack and if you care about the penny items, then why are you allowing it to be programmed in your? I mean, it's an easy thing to go in there and change it if you want to change it just to make it not be doable. Let's see what time it is. 7:08. I don't even remember what time I got on here. I think it was like 5 o'clock or something. So we've probably been on here for a couple hours. My wife's probably surely back from walking now, but she hadn't commented on here. I figured she'd be commenting saying she was back, but she might not even be watching me. So I'm gonna look real fast and see if our car's out there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Matt, about the tool hacks. But there's some stores where, or like even the same store, like sometimes I've went in there to do it. Like I went and bought something and then I don't need the batteries or I don't need the tool. And it's like, again, you've made my receipt. It says on there plain as day that if I want to, I can return this thing for that much. But there's every now and then you'll go to customer service and you'll tell them, they'll be like, "Oh, you've got to return the whole thing." I'm like, well, not really. I mean, your receipt says it's this way. And it's like, but then, I mean, they literally won't, sometimes won't let you do it unless you tell them to call a manager or whatever else. And it's just like, I don't get it. It's like, if y'all got a problem with it, then just don't, whenever I buy this, put it as one item on the receipt and say on there that you have to return all those items. I don't get it sometimes. My son just said he's watching. He just sent me a text, but I don't think he's on YouTube as far as a username. It looks like it's just me and you, Matt. Or you're out commenting all of them, one or the other. Any intentions to try the Milwaukee structure tool bag? Uh, I don't know. I'm pretty hooked on the Vetos. They've been working really well for me. Now that new structured backpack, like if I was to buy a backpack, it looks pretty nice. I think, and it's only to me the price tag of the like if they weren't as expensive as they were or as they are, I might would try them. But it's like for the most part, they're almost even more expensive than some of the Veto's. And I know that Veto's are good, and so it's hard for me to want to spend $300 on something that I don't think is probably going to be as good as a Veto to me. And I don't tie my pack out stuff. Now, if I ran a pack out stack, like that's what I would do. But I don't. So that's probably why it's not such a big temptation to me because I'm not ever interlocking my tool bag in with my pack out stuff. All my pack out stuff is pretty much separate other than the drawers in the back of my truck, and they stay in there all the time. Like, but whenever I go to a place, I'm never taking 10 things of pack out inside. I'm taking my electrical box in, or I'm taking my ceiling grid box in, or my flooring box, and that's all I take in is like one or two things. My 3-plane laser. So I'm normally just carrying that in my hands. I've got my rolling toolbox out of my truck like maybe twice in the last 2 years to roll stuff into a job because it was at a mall. Like I put up the Santa set at our local mall for a couple years in a row. We used to always do it every year, but we don't do it anymore. And then a factory, I took it in there one time. But most of my jobs, I don't travel a big distance from my truck to where I'm working, so I don't mess with like loading up 15 things. I'll usually just mainly too because if I'm working in somebody's house, I don't want to take in so much stuff. Even if I think I'm going to use it, I usually do it in stages. Like I'll take in a couple pack outs for whatever that first part of the job is, and then I'll take those out to the truck and bring 2 more in, just so I'm not filling up their whole entire house with stuff like that. So don't do it. The tote is acceptable. The XL isn't that good. Anyone can chime in. TPG's back in the house. Yeah, like I said, if I ran pack out the way some people run pack out, a pack out tool bag, I could see the appeal to it to me. And the structured ones are for sure like they look like a good quality tool bag, but I'm not going to pay that kind of price for one that I'm not going to lock into a system. I just assume buy a Veto bag, and I actually think I'd like the bottom of a Veto bag better than a pack out one with the little tabs on it to lock into pack out if I'm not going to use it in that way. I figured whenever I got on here, I'm not a time zone person and all that kind of stuff, but I knew I got on here at like 5 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock p.m. And I knew like people like Rob Holland and all those are probably, I'm assuming it'd be their bedtime or something. I don't know what time it is. So I didn't expect to see any of those on here. So will you be open to to, will you be open to van your submissions? I'm a pack out guy and I wouldn't buy one of the Milwaukee tool bags. So P, will you be open to van your submissions? I'm not sure what you're asking. And Mike S, I'm pretty much right there with you. Again, my first Veto bag that I bought was and I sold it. I don't use it anymore. It's the open toed. I want to say OTMC, something like that. I don't. That might be the newer version of it, but it was the one with the 2 slots on the side, and then you had that middle compartment that took the little gray boxes. I bought it and I liked it as a tool bag, but I just learned that I don't like the open tote as much as I like to close my bag up. So then I started swapping and the reason why I didn't start out with a Veto bag like that is because I bought a DeWalt backpack or a CLC backpack at one time. It was my very first backpack bag, and I hated it. I didn't like it at all, and that kind of threw me off from wanting bags. And then I ended up going and trying that MCT, and that was once I bought that Tech MCT, and I had that bag for a while. I'm just like, yeah, these Veto bags are nice, and I'm pretty well. I don't see myself unless somebody else comes out with something great. I don't see myself changing. A van tour, yeah, P, possibly. And I think it's close enough to here. Like my truck is right outside of here. I can't really I can pull my truck in here, but it's a little bit of a pain now with I got to take all my ladders off and a bunch of stuff to do it because my door for this building wasn't really made to be like a truck garage. It's more of I just use it for storage. But it's probably close enough that I could maybe go around and do that in a live too, but I can make a video of that. But we talked about, it might have been before you got in here, somebody asked about doing a tour of in here. And again, it's going to be less impressive than what probably most of you think. But at some point in time, it might be good to do that in a live format so that as I'm going around, you can ask questions and that way I don't miss something. It's hard to film a truck video and not feel like I'm making it too long and I'm going too much about something and somebody's going to complain that, oh, this video's too long. You could have, I get those comments all the time from, not all the time, but few and far between. But you could have said the same amount of stuff in 10 minutes on a 30-minute video. There's always somebody that comments something like that and those kinds of things. But I try not to drag on about stuff, but then also I don't want to miss stuff because it's a whole lot easier for me to talk about it while it's in the video picture than you to ask me a question about it. And then I have to type some kind of an answer to try to explain something. It's a lot better to do it that way, but possibly, I've got some truck videos, truck loadout videos. I'm sure you've probably seen those. But I've got those if you wanted to check those out. I don't know if you've seen them or not. Maybe you haven't seen them yet. I've got 3 different ones. I've got one. The first one was where I was still working at my hourly job, and then I did some side jobs just here and there, just mostly for friends and family and a few customers. It was back whenever I was working there. I pretty much only did side jobs. I would just do stuff to help out people. And then my second loadout was I started out on my own, and I was having to put more stuff in the truck. And then the third one was I've added on my camper topper now, and that thing it's been my best purchase so far. I've really loved that thing. I didn't think I was gonna. I used to have a truck with a camper topper on the back of it, and I hated driving it because you couldn't see as well. But working out of it, it's a necessary thing for me, and I haven't decided yet. I mean, my truck is basically almost like a van with my deck system and the drawers I got in the back seat and all those things. I'm leaning towards my next vehicle being a van, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to drive my truck till the wheels fall off of it, though, just because vehicles are so expensive. I did buy an enclosed trailer this year so that whenever I go to job sites, like sometimes I install doors, I do a lot of framing and drywall and stuff like that. And having the topper on my truck has made that harder. So that I went out and bought me an enclosed trailer so that anytime I'm doing that kind of job, I can still just hook that onto my truck and I just use it for materials. I'm never going to build myself like a tool trailer that I lug around town, that kind of thing. But I just use it to haul materials in. 6:15 in your area, G Nick. Yeah, you're an hour behind me. My Milwaukee structured tool bag I got for under 100 and it didn't work out. It held less than my MCT and was as big as the XL. Most people get the Veto open toed and end up hating it. Look at some videos. Yeah, I just don't like. I'm an appearance person. Like I like my stuff to look neat too, and it's just something about, even though the open toed is probably more functional because you don't have to dig around in something. It's all right there, like easy for you to access. But really, if you got the MCT and you get it to where you're going, you open the zippers and fold it down. It's an open tote that you can close. I'd rather have that option just because while you're hauling it in and out, while it's sitting somewhere, it just looks like a, suitcase type thing. It's clean. It looks good. I like that about it more so. The open tote just bugged me as far as the appearance of it. And, that might sound stupid, but that's just how I was about it. I won't buy open top because I'm working in the rain and the bag tips over because of how I drive the work van. I have the Blackout MCT now. It's awesome. Yeah, the Blackout MCT is what I always tell everybody. I've got a lot of Veto bags. I've tried different ones and all those. But if I had to, like if somebody said you can only have one and that's it, you're not going to get another one. It doesn't matter. That's the one that I have found the most useful for me. And again, take that with a grain of salt. Just because you hear me say that that's what works well for me, that doesn't mean that's what's going to work well for you. We all do different stuff. But if I had to pick one bag, and if I would recommend one bag to somebody, the Tech MCT Blackout is probably the most useful bag for me. Love Veto bags, but the zipper on my Tech Pack broke the other day only after 2 years. I would think that they would warranty that, but I've not warranted anything through Veto, so I'm sure it's good though. I mean, I haven't heard anybody complain about Veto's warranty, but I haven't used it myself either, so I don't know how easy of a process that is. And they're supposed to have that no time down, so I'm assuming they kind of give you something to use while they're working on it or something along those lines. Velocity Pro Gear, yeah, I've looked at those bags. I've watched a lot of videos on the Velocity bags. And if one day I can get one of those and not have to pay some exorbitant amount of shipping, I would like to try one because they look pretty close to Veto bags. But I'm not going to, same thing with the Milwaukee structured totes. I'm not going to spend more money or the same money to buy something that I don't think is going to be as good whenever I know that something else is going to be good. And I'm that way with tools too. I'm willing to spend good money on a good tool. And the only way I'm going to buy something that I'm not sure if it's as good as that is if it's at a pretty decent discount compared to, because if it's only a few dollars less, I'm going to go ahead and spend the extra few dollars and buy the tool that I know is going to be good than to save a few dollars and get one that I'm like, because what happens for me is, and maybe it happens for you, is if I buy the cheaper tool and say I save $20, it's always in the back of my mind that, man, I bet that other one's probably better than this one. And what ends up happening is I buy that one and then I still go back and buy the more expensive one. And then I end up having two tools instead of just buying the one I wanted in the first place. And so really I didn't save money. It actually cost me more money until I sell one or do something else with it. So I've always been a person who, if I've got a tool that I want, and even if it's expensive, but if it's really what I want, I'm going to go ahead and spend the money on that one. I'd rather do that than buy two things and just be disappointed in it. Speaking of good warranties, I warranted an air hose reel from Tecton. They gave me $150 online credit, and they don't make the hose reel anymore. Well, at least they give you some money back. Yeah. I think I would agree it's a little big for most of my needs, but otherwise just so good. The TPLD Blackout is another excellent bag. The V-swap, so I can set it up several different ways. Yeah, I like the V-swap options, especially now that I've been seeing. I didn't even think about doing this except for the guest of trade stuff. Matt's one of them that's done it. The one that's going to be tomorrow, he's got a Veto panel inside of another bag. That's a good idea because you can actually make a tool. Sometimes there's a lot of space in those bags, where if you just buy yourself a V-swap panel, you can add a whole nother section of tools in there. But the MCT, the big thing to me about the Blackout is those pouches that's on the outside zippers, like the outside flaps, those extra pouches that you got in that. That was what made it worth it to me. And then I bought a bulk panel thing, extra V-swap panel. But it is, to me, nice that you have options to change a bag around, even though you might not ever do it. But it is nice that you have the option to at least do that and carry different stuff. I think that's a good idea that they did. Veto doesn't cover zippers. They charge you for parts and labor. Well, that's good to know. That's I didn't know that, so that's interesting to know. Any recommendations for tool belts? Badger for framing, Matt said. Occidental Letter for electrician. Commercial electrician. Oh, no. Yeah. He probably knows more about tool belts than me. I've been running my vest for a long time. I'm trying to think of what the last belt was that I actually even had, where I wore suspenders in a belt, but I never did it I never have wore that kind of a setup for electrical work. I always just kind of wore a couple pouches or whatever it might be. I always have worn tool belts for like framing and drywall and those kind of things. I'm a big fan of the vest, but I get why a lot of people wouldn't like it. I mean, it's like right now it's 90 degrees in here. I could be wearing it and I'd be fine, but a lot of people are going to say it's too hot. But I love the being able to just stick stuff on my body wherever I want to, and I can take stuff on and off super easy versus like a tool belt. A lot of times you get those bags, and whether or not you even need the bag on this side for the job you're doing, you're still packing it around with stuff in there because it's such a pain to take them on and off. Again, I'm sure there's other setups where it's easier, but that used to be the big drawback to me of wearing a big tool and belt thing, because it was such a pain to just, you had to either carry everything or nothing, and I never did like that about it. I'll stay on here for about 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna head inside. My wife should be back from walking, I think. So again, y'all can be thinking of ideas of questions, answers, things we could talk about in this kind of a format. I don't know if there's times that are better for more people. I'm going to post some things on the community thing, because like I said, the time thing is going to be different for everybody just because of whatever time zone you live in, and whether a Saturday might be better, because then if at least if it's Saturday during the day sometimes, which people might not be working to where like normal times there might be somebody working right now that would be on here. There's also some people who would be sleeping who would be on here. So I don't know. Again, I had some time tonight and I thought I'd come out here, and the more I can do this, the more I'm going to learn how it works and see if there's something else I could do that'd be a little bit better. Happy wife, happy life. That's 100% right. I think I'd like the vest setup, but the price is a deal breaker. They are expensive. And I don't know that I don't hardly ever recommend the Saratoga to very many people because I don't think that there's a lot of people that would like wearing it because it is a little bit. If you didn't wear the belt on the bottom, it's super comfortable. The belt that I have is an Atlas belt and it's pretty stiff, and it doesn't bother me the jobs that I use it on, but I don't like wearing it like in tight spaces. Like I only wear it like if I'm in wide open, there's no furniture. Like it isn't something I would want to use like in somebody's house. I would not wear it in somebody's house. And they've got other vests now that are like more open too that would probably be better for hot stuff, but you don't have as much attachments on the front, and that's what I actually like about the vest. It's more of like everything's up and down the side. So I don't know that I would like any of the other ones, but it doesn't matter. Whatever you buy from Atlas, they're all expensive. It doesn't matter which one you buy; they're all about the same price. And there's just not very many. You got Diamondback, it's expensive. Atlas is expensive. The one Matt had, I don't know how much it cost, and I've already forgot. It was Occidental, I think, was what the one, or it was a Welkin Land that was an Occidental like rebrand. I don't know how much it is. He might could tell us on that. Thoughts on being featured on the tool show? Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. They did. I mean, it was. I think he might be. He was in here. Let's see. I don't know if he's still in here or not. It was Woodchuck. He's the one that I think he's like a member or something with them, and he suggested the video to them, and I guess they put it on there. So I didn't know that was going to be on there. It didn't something like they contacted me or anything like that. I always wondered how you got on there. I wasn't real sure how you got on there because I saw some people that were on it and they didn't have. I thought, well, they probably only puts people on there if they've got X amount of subscribers and this and that and whatever else. So maybe they don't put people on there for a while. But then I had seen some people on there who had less subscribers than me, and then so I was curious how you got on the show, but it wasn't something I was gonna like seek out to get on it. If they put me on there, they put me on there type thing. So I thought it was pretty neat. I didn't get any kind of like a bump in subscribers or anything like that, and that video didn't do any better than any other video. So I didn't like being on the tour show. I don't feel like it did anything for my channel wise as far as like made me more relevant to people or anything like that. And there is something to the whole, I've said in here that I don't ask people to subscribe, every video and all that stuff. I always say, if you want to, you are, and if you don't want to, that's fine, whatever. But I watched several videos where they say the fastest way to get more subscribers is to ask people to subscribe. And it is crazy how, and I probably got a picture of it. I'll show it. Let me see if I can pull it up. Well, it's going to be on my phone, so I won't be able to pull that up. But the last video that I asked about it, and I didn't really ask about it, but I said something. Well, let me get this pulled back up. I just said I don't ever really ask, but I mostly wanted to say thank you for all of you who have subscribed and all those kinds of things. That video, like most videos, I might get like 10 subscribers added or something like that. That video, I got 173. So there is something too about the asking to get subscribers. Again, I'm still not going to do it every video just because it's not something I want to do. But there is something to that, I guess. And I think what it is more than anything is somebody might think that they're subscribed to you, and then they just don't think anything about it. And then maybe whenever you say it, they're like, oh, I'm not even subscribed to him, so I'm going to. Or there's also been people who have said, and again, nobody's ever said this to me, that they might have subscribed to somebody, and then at some point in time they got unsubscribed somehow or other. I know that was a big thing going around with some other channels where basically people were just getting unsubscribed from their channel, and then somebody had to resubscribe. So maybe that's what happens. I don't know, but there is something to the if you ask, you get more of them type thing, I guess. Let's see. Hey there, Dank Farmer. Appreciate that. It's weird watching this on here because there's a delay. So then I feel like I need to not say anything for a few seconds to let it catch up. But then that's just going to make there be a big pause of nothingness for a little while as well. So Landberg Tile was on the tool show and his subs blew up. Yeah, I haven't noticed anything different. And like I said, and it may be because my video wasn't like a tool that a lot of people were going to go from that video and go watch, because if you didn't care anything about a Atlas vest, maybe if I had a tool that was on there that was something that a lot of people would probably buy type thing, maybe it would have, but I didn't notice because I screenshotted whenever that tool show came out. I screenshotted my views of the Atlas vest and then my subscribers just so I'd kind of know. And I went back the next day and it really wasn't much difference than, what it would have normally been, anyways. So, all I know is I just noticed how white my legs are. Summertime hadn't been in full effect yet. Yeah, I've watched some of the electrician Ron videos too, or I think that's his name. There's electrician Ron. Is his name like Ron Doyle or something like that, Matt? I think maybe his name might be electrician Ron. I might be thinking of two different people. There was also a Ron Doyle, but I think he might have changed his name to electrician Ron. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Less pants, more shorts. Yeah, once it gets hot, and another benefit of working for yourself is you kind of get to decide like there's dress code for certain companies you work for, and you don't get to wear shorts no matter what. Like there's been plenty of jobs I've worked in my life where I had to wear pants, I had to wear steel toes, I even had a job where I had to wear fire retardant, like long sleeve shirts, pants, the whole 9 yards. And I mean, it was hotter than all get out, and I absolutely hated it. And that's the benefit of owning your own business is the dress code is determined by me. And again, all my residential customers. So service work is the only thing I do residential. I don't do any remodeling residential stuff. I'm 100% commercial on remodeling and things like that. Uh, but residential people, as far as service work, that's typically the only time if I wear shorts or something, is I'm going to somebody's house and stuff and they don't care. So, yeah, Matt, I'm pretty sure I've seen that video. I think I know who you're talking about because I watched a bunch of Atlas videos before I bought mine, and I even still, if I see some even now, I watch them just to see what they think about it, just to see what their thoughts are and see if I'm crazy. Uh, like I said, I don't like the shortness of that Saratoga vest. That's why whenever I saw the picture of the 1824 and the way that zipper worked, because I actually prefer, like I've got that Veto apron over there. I like the pockets in the front and those kinds of things, but I can't do anything where I got to bend over in that like forward because all that stuff just gets in your way. But the length of the 1824 is the only reason why I decided to go ahead and buy me another vest, because I just don't like the Saratoga vest without the belt on it. But the belt is what makes it to where you can't really wear it in certain situations because that belt is so stiff. But it's too short on me without that. So there's probably some other people that it would be fine, but on me it's way too short. Dank Farmer says he's got to wear pants, long sleeve boots. It's brutal. Yeah, I've done that, and it is, especially it just depends on where you live. But like summers here are at least the 90s usually, but the humidity is usually crazy. I mean, it's not as bad as some places, but it's usually pretty bad. And then if you the humidity is what to me makes the long sleeves even worse than the heat, because then you get wet from the sweat, and then it's just a whole thing. It's horrible. But the steel toe boots is the biggest thing for me. I mean, I had to wear those almost all of my 20s, most of my 30s, and then I swore that I'd probably never wear another pair. Once I had a job where I didn't have to wear them, I'm like, I'm not ever wearing a pair of steel toe boots again. And I get it, you should wear them in certain jobs and all those things, but it's like I don't have the desire to want to wear them. I don't like them. Wings and pizza joined a little late, but if you don't mind me asking, what's the most difficult residential issue you've been called out for? The residential stuff is always, to me, it's not electrical stuff, it's not plumbing stuff. It's always like structural problems, and it's normally I've went to some where the floor's falling in and you get under there, and I mean it's just gone. Like there's nothing. There ain't no saving it. And I at where I'm at now working for myself, I just tell people, look, here's some people's numbers you can call. I don't even attempt to get into that because I don't do residential. Once the residential job gets big, I'm not going to do it, especially in a house where somebody's living in it. That's why I've remodeled maybe two residential bathrooms since I went out on my own, but it's only been for certain customers who I also do commercial work for, and they weren't living in the house. It was a rental type house because I don't like working in homes where people are living there because I work by myself, and I can be scheduled, like I can have stuff scheduled out, and then I can tell them up front it's going to take me 2 weeks to do this bathroom or a month or whatever it is, and have planned in there. The reason why I'm telling you it's going to take a month is because I've already got these jobs scheduled during this month, and I'm not going to be at your house these days because I've got to go here and work on these because they were already on my schedule. So I'm going to come work on your bathroom. I'm going to leave, and then I'm going to come back and work on your bathroom. And it doesn't matter if you explain that to them. It doesn't matter how good a job you do explaining it to them up front. Their house is torn up, and the days that you're not there, they're going to be upset, and they're going to be like, how come you're not here finishing my bathroom, my kitchen, whatever it is. So I don't even get into, if you're living in your house, I'm not going to do, all I do is service work. I don't do any kind of a remodel. But typically the worst residential stuff that I run into is always something to do with structural issue, and it's usually because of water damage of some kind. And most of the time in my area, it's actually because of the crawl space isn't in the kind of shape that it should be in, because people just didn't used to put vapor barriers in and stuff like that, and all that fungus has started growing on wood. Then it started rotting, and then just a big problem. That's 9 times out of 10. That's what I run into. There's not a lot of electrical. It's more, if I had to pick a trade type thing, it's more plumbing issues typically than there is electrical issues. And a lot of times that's just because they've had somebody do something that was just dumb and they shouldn't have done it. You commented on it. Let's see. Midwest 90 plus and humid as all get out. I do pest control. Yeah, pest control. That's one of those where you probably, yeah, you've got to wear, they make you wear all that stuff just because of, to protect your skin and everything else, I'm sure. Uh, Puncture resistant insoles and skeeters. Step in so comfortable. Plumbing and water stops blow off. Yeah, like I said, if it is anything in the trade realm, like what Matt said, it's almost always a plumbing issue, which again leads to a water issue, which leads to most stuff in a home that I run into that's bad is always a water issue. Again, whether it's coming in from outside, whether it's a plumbing thing inside, I would rather almost my house uh, catch on fire than have a water leak, just because water does so much damage that you can't see, and it takes a long time for you to be able to see it. And then once you've gotten to that point, it's always just really bad most of the time. Have you modified the Waltz gyro to incorporate the Noster? No, I haven't tried it yet. I haven't had the time to. I'm going to look into it though. You've tried Spider's new Pro Tool Grip, but I still prefer the Noster. What's the Spider's new Pro Tool Grip? What's that one? I don't know if I've seen that one either. So it's not the pin, but I don't know if I've got any of those. I don't know if I've got any of those out here or not. Is it the strap that goes around like a strap that goes around here, or do they come out with something else new? Like I haven't seen if it's something different than that, I haven't even seen whatever that is. I don't mind the straps, but I prefer the pins. But the straps, I prefer the Noster over the straps. I know I've got a bunch of them straps in here somewhere, but I'm trying to think of where they are. They might be in my truck though. I use the straps still on like my M12 rotary hammer and stuff like that, just because I rarely need to clip it on me, but every now and then I do. So that's what I use those straps on the tools. What I don't care about having a permanent like Noster drill pin or something like that, but I want to have the option of putting something on me every now and then, like if I'm using my vest or something like that. You can do a Noster that way if you love the dank farmer EP guns. Yeah, very strict. Yeah, I used to have my pest control license. I was a facilities manager at the campus that I was at, so I went and got my pest control license so I could do the pest control for that campus as the, basically the maintenance supervisor. So I used to do pest control stuff. I never for a company, but just for the place where I worked at. We did that so we didn't have to hire it out. But SK11 makes a ring that goes onto the battery between the clip of the gyro. Matt said, "Yeah, it is a strap." Yeah, I've got some of the strap. That's what I kind of started with the spider tool pins or the spider tool holsters, and then I preferred the Noster over those just because it was more of a permanent thing. I wasn't taking it on and off, but I do like if you can put the drill pin on. And again, it depends on the location because, like on the M12, it's in a good location to where if I clip that in, I'm still grabbing the tool, like I would normally grab the tool. That's not a big deal. But on the M18s, and I don't have, let's see, like the M18, of course, this isn't an impact, but let's say I put the drill pin on here where the belt holder goes. If I clip that in, this is more of a weird, grab and then to get that unclipped. I don't like it as well on the M18 stuff as I like it on the M12 things a little bit better, but it's the same thing. You got the same problem with the Noster. The Noster is probably even worse on the M18 because that clip is like that. So then you got to get your thumb in here and pull it up, and then there's no way for you to grab that tool in a way that you can use it without after you unclip it, flip it around and put that on there. Well, we're up to 21. We started at 22, went down to like 18. Now we're back up to 21. It's new, came out about a month or so ago. Have you seen the fast cap one that came out and it's round? No. Fast cap, like a belt clip. I'm not sure what the fast cap is thing that you're talking about. Fast cap makes some pretty neat stuff. I know they made my Stabila level holders. Those are great. I've got their chisels, the foldable chisels. Those are pretty good. I think I have a scribing pencil. Like they make a variety of stuff. It's kind of weird. Like all the things that they're into. Google Fast Cap TLC. You have to pivot the gun to remove it. Yeah, I'll check that one out. I haven't seen it, so I'll check that out. I'm always looking for stuff like that because, again, with the vest, there's so many different places that you can put stuff on, and that's why I kind of like the holster better if I'm wearing my vest, because with the Spider tool holster, I have to have that holster wherever I want to put it. Versus if I've got the holster on and I'm in some kind of contorted position, I can take and clip it on me anywhere I want to. But again, that's just the advantage to me of having the vest over a dedicated pouch where I throw a drill into it or whatever. I have to put it back there every single time. That's kind of what you get into with the drill pins. But the holster, I mean, you can pretty much put it anywhere you want to. I really like it on my tape measures more than anything. And again, I thought that would get on my nerves. Like, that sticks out pretty far. I would think that would get on your nerves, but it's never in my way, like ever. And that once you put that on there, I mean, it's not going to pull out. Like these are even like slick shorts, and it will rip my shorts before that comes out. I haven't dropped the tape measure since I've been having those. And then again, the bonus to that is with my vest and everything else, I can take and clip it into my pocket or on the vest, on the little straps here, there, back pocket, wherever. And again, whenever I first put it on there, I was like, that's going to have to be getting in my way all the time, but it never really does. And the only time it does is if for some reason I've got to get in some weird place and hold it with my left hand, which is pretty rare, but even then I can still make it happen. So I'd suggest if you've got an extra holster, I would throw one on a tape measure and just see what you think about it. I like it on the tape measure probably more than I even like it on the tool. The zip tie holders, the one with I think I've got both of them in my truck too, but the one with the little ring that you open and close, those actually, they work pretty well. I like them because whenever I open up a bag of zip ties, I just stick them in there, and then I never have to have that bag dump out on me or anything else. It's basically just a big zip tie holder, and then I use one just to put a few into if I'm going to actually use it on a job or something like that. I went clearance shopping today. Have y'all got any good clearance stuff this week? I got a bunch of trim nails at Lowe's. My Lowe's has a bunch of trim screws, the Spax trim screws. Those are on clearance for crazy cheap. They just put all them back there in the back. I'm trying to think of what else I got. Oh, you can check out your Lowe's too if you're an electrician. Go to the wire section. Mine had some crazy good deals on wire today. Nick's zip tie pouch, 3-tier zippers. I haven't seen that Nick's pouch either. Well, I appreciate y'all getting on here tonight, or today, or this morning, wherever you are. Again, work in progress. I'm sure that some of this is going to be a mess. And like I said, you're going to hear me ramble probably more and take more words to say certain things because I'm not a speaker by far. I've worked by myself my whole life. I've talked in my head more than anybody else. And like in my tool videos, I'm able to edit those. So sometimes you're going to hear me ramble more about stuff if you ask a question. And I'm really bad about if you ask me a question and then I start on answering it and then maybe I go down a rabbit hole and then I probably don't come back and answer your question. So if I don't answer your question, but I started to make sure and just comment again down here on any time that you're on here if I'm on live, because I guarantee you I will do that. I'm real bad about that as far as while I'm talking, especially if I start talking about tools and stuff, and your question led me to think about something else, and then I start talking about whatever that tool is. I do really well with work and things and talking to customers in that way, but whenever I start talking about tools, my brain just goes off in different directions sometimes. Yeah, I thought about Matt. I was actually going to post the time today. I was going to put it on a community post, and I think there's even a way where you can. And again, I'm learning stuff every single. Same thing with making the tool videos and all that stuff. I learn stuff every single one, and with editing and all that stuff. I think there's a way that you can do a premiere, even like it's not necessarily that it's a premiere, but you can put on there, I'm going to go live at a certain time, and it comes up just like the premiere for the guest of trade tomorrow. They put it up like a little bit early, and it puts on there, we'll be live at whatever time it is. I think there's a way to do that. I haven't looked in to see how you do it yet, but I was gonna at least do a community post and say, hey, I'm thinking about going live at whatever time uh, tonight or tomorrow during the morning or whatever it is, if just to let y'all know at least a little bit ahead of time. Just wanted to say thanks for all the videos. Been subscribed since the beginning. Keep doing what you do. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate that. TPG, this is all good stuff. Awesome stream for sure. Do more. Underrated channel, by far my favorite tool channel. Yeah, I like this because it's feedback, like comment back and forth. It's kind of similar, but sometimes there's a big gap between when one person posts and one person another. And again, I know not everybody's going to always be able to be in every single time and stuff, but I've enjoyed more getting to know all of y'all more than anything else. I love the comment sections of every video. Like I said, to me, this is an avenue. I didn't start this channel to become a million subscriber YouTube channel or anything like that. I just buy tools and I like talking about them if I can help. It's no different to me than if I pull up in my truck on a job site. I I I see my channel as the same as me pulling out the tool out of my truck and showing them to a guy on a job site. That's what I try to do with the tools here. And I just show those guys here, this is what this does. And it's either a good tool for them or it's not. So, every tool is not a good tool for everybody. So I just show you what it does, why I might use it, and maybe you would use it that way, maybe you wouldn't, or maybe you might use it in a total different way and it'd be useful to you. And it gives me a way to talk like that with somebody because, like I said, as I pull up on job sites, there's very few people on my job sites that are like me that just love tools and all those kinds of things. So this is giving me a way to have a whole group of people that are just like me, like tools and all those kinds of things. So that's the biggest thing that I like about it. So I like the idea of this, even though being live is a little bit weird, and again, I'm not someone who's used to doing this, talking to a phone sitting here, even though y'all are on the other side of it. But I do like the idea of it just because it's instant, feedback back and forth from somebody that you're able to it's almost like more like having a conversation than commenting back and forth in a comment section, even though that's kind of similar, but it's not exactly the same. That would be nice. Tools and Tactics does that. Yeah. He's earned my one and only sub. You have to earn it. Yeah. Get one of those socket screamers. I saw that. I saw his video of that the other day. I wonder how he didn't really. I haven't watched the video to see how loud it is. I only saw his short. I don't know if he's got a video because somebody else makes one of those. Or actually, I've got a Fluke one that you plug in and you turn on the sound, but it's not very loud. Like if you're very far from the panel, you're not going to be able to hear it. I'm curious how loud that thing gets. So I don't know if any of you have the socket screamer. I'm curious of how loud that gets because there is times where that's the better option because every now and then it just doesn't work out to use that tracer. Just depends on how somebody's wired neutrals and things like that. Sometimes you get into, weird things. It's just easier just to go in there and start flipping stuff. But I saw his short of that just the other day, and I thought I'm gonna look that one up and see how much that is because the Fluke one I've got that does it isn't very loud. It's not loud enough in my opinion. Fluke is tepid, and the socket scammer goes through a floor. So yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I might buy it. Yeah. horribly loud. So it's more of on a job site where you don't have a lot of people like customers, like a office space or something like that. And see, that's where the if I'm not in an office space and you're not worried about turning off stuff, sometimes I just go to the panel and start reading and guessing and turning off whatever. But a lot of times I'm somewhere where I've got to make sure the only thing I turn off is what I'm working on, because it's going to mess up they're still running the business or doing whatever, and it's going to mess up whatever they got going on. And so but I don't think they'd appreciate a big screamer either. So, which that Klein breaker finder is pretty good though. It's been the best one I've used so far. I'm actually, let me try this out while y'all are still on here. Let's see if this is too bright in the background. Because that light throws off too much light, like whenever I'm doing the guess the trade stuff. But is that too much light on the live stream? And then I'm also going to let me turn on a fan. I'm going to see if y'all can hear that or not. It would be pretty helpful to me if you can't hear this fan, but I'm curious how loud that fan is in the background. All right. Well, I can usually, like I said, it doesn't bother me to be in 80s, 90s, and all that stuff. It's a little bit warmer in here, which certain times of the year just depends on what's going on. I just open my garage doors and it's a lot better in here. But like as far as working in here, I can run those fans and open my doors, and it's just like being in air conditioning to me as far as working in here. So that's why I don't put in an air conditioner and all that kind of stuff. I would only do it for this if I was going to be doing it like for filming. Yeah, bladeless fan. Yeah, I might go get me one of those that I just put in at that lady's house, and just put it like directly above my head right here and put one of them bladeless fans in. I could try that. Jay Moss be working late today on this job, and I'm by myself. Been nice listening and popping in every once in a while I do my thing. You need to install a ceiling fan in there. It would make a great video. Yeah, and a ceiling fan's not near like these are big old like big fans, like you floor fans type things, and they're pretty loud. So I could probably, I'm sure, find one that's not as loud. I could probably even maybe bring my Milwaukee one in here and set it in the floor and put it right in front of me. It's not that loud either, and it might not be those are pretty loud fans. So I might try some different ones at some time and see what I got. I'd say the light's good. Fan is kind of bad, but still audible. Yeah, I figured the fan was going to be, these fans are going to be too loud. I knew they would be. I was just curious. I, I haven't ever turned them on, like filming out here, ever since I bought a microphone. Back whenever I didn't have a microphone, I filmed a couple times and forgot to turn them off. And then I'd go in there to edit them. And I mean, it's like, well, you couldn't even hear a single thing I said. So I'd have to come back out here and refilm everything. So then I've just started leaving them off all the time. And but I hadn't ever tried it since I got a microphone, so I didn't know if it would actually kind of cancel out stuff or not. So I wasn't sure. Yeah, the new Milwaukee fan. I've thought about buying that. So the new Milwaukee fan too. I think it's AC and also uh, battery powered, if I remember right. I haven't looked into it too much because I don't need a big fan like that often. The only times I need big fans is if I'm drying out someplace or something like that, and I've got some of them blue fans that I take in places for that. But I think that new Milwaukee fan's powered and battery, like AC and battery powered. If you have a lamp base, you can get a socket fan. Yeah, I think I've got. Let's see. I know I got one over there in the middle. Yeah, I might try that. My electric in here is a little bit weird as far as, I mean, not weird and like bad. It was hard for me to run power because I'd already put up like the plastic and insulation and stuff like that. And then like the whole reason why I've got these like picket walls is because at the time I was finishing this out was the time when like OSB board and any kind of plywood was costing you like $100 a sheet. Like it was crazy there for a while, if y'all remember that. And I was just like, I'm not putting that around my. I was wanting wood so that I could just attach anything to it anytime I wanted to. And these pickets were like still $1 a piece or something like that, and I could buy another 4x8 sheet worth of plywood for like, I think it was maybe $10, $12 or something like that. So compared to $100 sheet of plywood, so that's why I ended up doing this, and I actually really like it because now I can take down just one picket, and it's got my insulation and my plastic and everything like that behind it. But I can take those down and run stuff back in behind it if I want to. It's worked out pretty good. Uh, I think my side walls are like 7 foot something. They're not. It's not 8 foot on the side. It's less than eight, but it's like I didn't have to cut them. I didn't cut them off, so it's whatever the. But they're. It's taller than 6 foot though. So, or maybe no, I did cut them. I think I bought 8 foot ones, and I had to cut them down like to seven something whenever I put them up there. Because this is like a metal. It's a metal pole building type thing, and then I framed out and furred out everything where the poles were, put insulation board and insulation in it, and then wrapped it all. And then I put up this plywood or these pickets and stuff. It used to just be just like metal, and then I was getting real bad condensation and stuff like that. So I had to do all this just again with running the dehumidifier, doing this just to keep the water from dropping off the metal and hitting my tools, all those kinds of things. Rustic charm, yeah. Well, I guess I better get off here. I'm sure the wife's waiting on me probably in there. But again, I appreciate all y'all coming on here, and again, just being able to give me feedback more than anything of just little things to try out. And I'll try to post uh, when I the next time, at least maybe a day ahead of time or something like that. I'll see if I can figure out the whole getting on there and saying Morgan's going to go live at whatever. Again, ideas of whatever y'all think. We can just do questions and answers. Y'all can ask questions, but eventually you're going to run out of those or ideas of things that I'll probably make a post that just says suggestions of topics that we can talk about, and then we'll just go kind of through some of those, and that'll just be a starting point. Like tonight, it was simple jobs that you've been asked to do, but I've only had a couple that I was going to bring up. I was going to see if anybody else had any, but then after we get done with that, we'll just talk for however long about whatever tools and all that kind of stuff. But just to have something that's the purpose behind the video, so we're not just staring at each other like teenage kids on the phone, not saying anything with the phone on both ends. But thanks again. More lives in a garage tour. Thanks. Have a great weekend and tools. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later. Appreciate it. Oh, y'all have a blessed day.